The story opens with a recap of the first year of the 10,000 Races War, where countless demons descended upon Earth, turning it into a vast battlefield. In the early stages, humanity's awakened individuals were too few and weak, quickly putting them at a disadvantage. For over a decade, two of humanity's defense lines crumbled and the prospect of defeat loomed, with firearms depleted. Nations shifted their reliance to legions of gifted individuals to support the war effort. In the 10th year of the war, the largest conscription in the history of the country of Hua began in a northern frontier industrial city. A memorial wall displays the portraits of the fallen, including Chen Guohai, who died fighting a rot giant, and Sulai, who sacrificed herself to destroy a bridge. A veteran mayor gives a rousing speech before the wall, calling the fallen heroes and reminding the crowd that the 9th defense line was recently lost. He warns that their city will bear the brunt of the next assault and that the Eastern Alliance is gathering 1,000,000 superpowered individuals for a counterattack, asking the younger generation what they will do. Fired up, the crowd chants their desire to enlist and protect their homeland, vowing to slay the alien races. At the enlistment table, several youths are accepted before Nan Ziying is called. The officer reads his file, noting he is 20 years old and his supernatural talent has not yet awakened. When asked if he will go to the front lines, Nan Ziying replies that he will not. To the officer's shock, Nan Ziying explains that he chooses to stay behind as part of the logistics team. The surrounding crowd murmurs in disgust, calling him a coward. An angry schoolmate confronts him, questioning his decision to back down when the nation's survival is at stake and asking if he has forgotten the shame of their people being slaughtered. Nan Ziying calmly responds that while he hasn't forgotten, he has made his choice. The schoolmate grabs him by the collar, reminding him of his past bravery during a mutant beast tide, but an official intervenes, stating that enlistment isn't mandatory. Nan Ziying is handed his form and told to live, with the crowd jeering at him as a coward as he walks away. The next day, newly enlisted soldiers march to war, full of patriotic fervor. Nan Ziying reads a news report on his phone about a super rookie from his city refusing military service, with online comments branding him a coward. He thinks to himself that this massive counterattack is a fool's errand, like moths drawn to a flame, as it underestimates the power of the alien races. He recalls his past life where he too joined the army early and eventually became a strategist. In that life, he had implanted 5 different talent trees within himself: elemental, beast taming, Asura, formation, and undead, believing that if he could level them up, he could turn the tide of the war. But before he could complete his plan, humanity was defeated, and he was slain by one of the 10,000 race's strongest beings, dying with the regret of not being able to protect his people. He reveals that he was then reborn, bringing the 5 talent trees back with him. He knows that upgrading them will require immense time and source stones, but once accomplished, he can protect humanity even if he's alone. Recognizing that going to the battlefield now would be a pointless death, he decides he must first go to the trial grounds to acquire the necessary resources. He arrives at the rear trial grounds of E-City's branch, a place once used for training but now staffed by elderly workers processing mutant beast carcasses. Seeing them struggle, Nan Ziying offers to help deal with the beasts. A woman named Xiao Liu gratefully accepts and leads him to the changing area. Other workers recognize him from the news as the deserter and gossip amongst themselves, assuming he's putting on an act out of guilt and wondering how long he'll last. Xiao Liu hands him an alloy sword, warning him of the danger, which he accepts before heading into the trial. As he enters, a system window announces he has selected a level of trial, and despite a system error, confirms his entry. Inside the dark chamber, a voice asks if he is willing to become a shadow in the night for humanity's future, even if it means bearing thousands of curses. With his eyes glowing, he affirms his willingness. A swarm of mutant beasts descends, and he decides to begin by activating his beast taming talent. He recognizes the creatures as umbrella birds and recalls their weak spot from his past life, the area behind their heads. He swiftly dispatches one, extracts a source stone, and sees a system window indicating his beast tamer level is at 0. He efficiently slaughters the swarm, his tamed beast count rising with each kill. His progress is interrupted by the appearance of a massive umbrella bird emperor. Knowing he is too weak to face it head-on, he dodges its attacks and strikes at its weak points, eventually felling the beast just as a voice announces a lunch break. The workers are eating when an announcement declares that Nan Ziying has completed the first floor, shocking them with his speed. They assume he chickened out and go to confront him, only to find him emerging covered in black blood and wounds. A system window flashes, showing he set a new record with a kill count of 2,000. He simply confirms that he passed and tells them the carcasses are ready for processing. Xiao Liu stares in awe at the mountain of dead beasts. After showering, Nan Ziying sees a war report about 2 powerful ability holders arriving at the front line. He remembers from his past that they will soon die, worsening the war effort, and realizes he must speed up his preparations. He immediately returns to the trial grounds, stunning the workers who thought he'd need a long rest. He announces he is proceeding to the 2nd floor. Despite their warnings, he enters the next trial alone. Inside, he faces stronger wolf-like beasts and decides to use his beast taming talent to subdue them before fighting. He unleashes a wave of power that pacifies the entire pack, then resolves to reach level 3 in one go. 3 days later, Nan Ziying's beast-taming talent reaches level 6. He plans to venture into the dangerous wilderness that night to tame more powerful beasts, a key part of his strategy. As he leaves the trial grounds, some workers again speak ill of him, but Xiao Liu defends his incredible contribution to their work. Outside, he sees wounded soldiers being transported from the front lines and rockets firing into the sky, confirming his belief that the defense line is on the verge of collapse. He heads into the snowy wilderness and comes across a broken-down truck belonging to a medical herb collection team. He leaps over their vehicle without a word and continues on his way. The two women in the truck are soon attacked by a pack of steel giant wolves. Nan Ziying, who is also ambushed nearby, hears their gunshots and realizes they are in trouble. He decides to save them by dealing with the wolf pack's leader. He activates his beast taming talent, focusing his power on the steel wolf king and successfully taming it. The wolves attacking the truck immediately halt their assault and retreat, leaving the two women stunned and alive. Nan Ziying's system shows his beast tamer level has reached 7. He dismisses his newly tamed pack, ordering them not to attack humans, and reflects on his plan to build an army of 10 million beasts. His thoughts are interrupted by an urgent message from the factory summoning him to an emergency meeting. He arrives to find an officer, Lin Yaoai, berating the Yi City workers for their slow progress. When an elderly woman protests Lin Yaoai's insults, his subordinate moves to strike her, but Nan Ziying intervenes, knocking the man down. Nan Ziying recognizes the officer as Lin Yaoai, a traitor he knew from his past life who profited from the war. Lin Yaoai, recognizing Nan Ziying as the infamous deserter, threatens to execute him. Nan Ziying calmly counters that if he dies, the supply of processed beasts will grind to a halt, as he is the one responsible for the recent surge in production. He correctly guesses that Lin Yaoai came to Yi City because these high-level beasts are too difficult for other branches to handle due to their psychic interference. Outmaneuvered, Lin Yaoai makes Nan Ziying swear a military pledge: process 5,000 level 4 mutant beasts in 1 week or be executed. The next day, the beasts are delivered, and Lin Yaoai's messenger formally reads the order, sadistically reminding Nan Ziying of the firing squad that awaits his failure. The workers warn Nan Ziying that they lack the anesthesia needed for such powerful beasts, while Lin Yaoai's men watch, certain he will be driven insane by the mental attacks. Nan Ziying enters the trial, where the beasts immediately assail him with powerful, vivid illusions of his past and deceased father, tempting him to give up. He resists, declaring that humanity's fate is for humans to decide. He activates his Asura talent, intending to absorb the beast's malign energy to upgrade his power, and roars as the immense psychic force washes over him. Lin Yaoai relaxes in his opulent room, complaining to an aide about the increasing demand for military supplies and the pressure from his clients. He dismisses a woman's advances, grumbling about how the war is making him a fortune, but also causing headaches from greedy subordinates and military investigations. His thoughts are interrupted by a phone call. An underling reports from the Yi City branch, nervously explaining that the massive order of high-level mutant beasts has been almost completely processed in just 4 days. The underling confirms that a single person, Nan Ziying, accomplished the entire task. Amused, Lin Yaoai asks about Nan Ziying's condition and is told he is worn out but lucid. He orders his men to watch Nan Ziying closely, shocked that the young man actually succeeded. Meanwhile, a system window reveals to Nan Ziying that his Asura talent has reached the 5th level, unlocking the Alloy Evil Blade skill. He feels his physical and mental strength has grown immensely, allowing him to now venture into the wilderness to tame more powerful beasts. The fat subordinate sent by Lin Yaoai grumbles about being used by the Yi City workers, but Nan Ziying, with his newly enhanced perception, senses the man's psychic power. The subordinate, in turn, is shocked to feel a mental presence from Nan Ziying and decides to investigate him, ignoring his partner's warnings not to defy the boss's orders. He unleashes a psychic attack, intending to probe Nan Ziying's mind. Nan Ziying sees this as a perfect opportunity to test his Asura talent's new abilities. The psychic finds himself plunged into Nan Ziying's mental world, a terrifying, pitch-black void. Before he can comprehend the scene, a colossal entity formed of pure malign energy appears, a manifestation of Nan Ziying's Asura power. The psychic screams in terror, begging for his life as the entity envelops him. Back in the real world, the psychic's mind snaps. He begins raving about money and power before his partner is forced to execute him to maintain order. The partner tells the shocked workers that the man was driven mad by the beast's residual mental energy and quickly leaves to report back to Lin Yaoai. As he departs, a system notification informs Nan Ziying that his Asura level has reached its 6th stage. Nan Ziying awakens 2 days later in the infirmary, surrounded by the grateful workers. They deliver grim news. The 9th defense line has completely fallen and humanity has been pushed back to the 8th. 2 of the Alliance's strongest Aspurs were defeated, a collapse happening far sooner than in Nan Ziying's previous life. The workers then deliver a letter of appointment, informing him that he has been unanimously elected as the new chief of the Yi City Trial Tower branch. Now Chief, Nan Ziying assures the worried staff that despite their doubled workload, he can handle the increased production by himself using his advanced talents. He then senses someone following him and leads the pursuer to a snowy rooftop. A woman named Zhang Yun appears, holding him at gunpoint and questioning him about his connection to Lin Yaoai. When she attacks, he effortlessly counters with his Asura talent, stunning her with his power. She reveals she is from the 8th Defense Line's intelligence section and proposes they team up to eliminate the corrupt officer. Nan Ziying refuses, explaining that both assassination and an internal investigation are too risky and would cause chaos that humanity cannot afford. Impressed by his strategic mind and rapidly growing power, she agrees to his counter-proposal. He will handle Lin Yaoai, and in return she will ensure he receives a steady supply of mutant beasts. Days later, a gleeful Lin Yaoai delivers a new, even more difficult batch of beasts, praising Nan Ziying's efficiency and promising rewards. As the workers look on, Nan Ziying enters the trial grounds, activating his alloy evil blade skill, ready to turn Lin Yaoai's hoarded resources into fuel for his own power. As he slaughters the beasts, visions of collapsing defense lines around the world flash through his mind, filling him with rage. He unleashes the full might of his Asura talent, reaching its maximum level and activating Hell on Earth mode. After testing his newfound power, he deactivates the mode, deciding to save the harvested source stones for taming beasts. He then confronts Lin Yaoai, who asks what reward he desires. Nan Ziying tells him to go to the northern wilderness and bring back a batch of steel wolves. That night, under a full moon, Nan Ziying summons his wolf packs while Lin Yaoai's convoy travels through the same area. They are suddenly ambushed by a massive beast tide spanning 10 kilometers, far too large for their teleporter to handle. From a distance, Nan Ziying unleashes his full beast taming power, taking control of the entire 100,000-strong wolf pack. He orders them to tear the convoy apart. As his men are slaughtered, Lin Yaoai attempts to escape using a nano-cage teleport. He reappears some distance away, only to find Nan Ziying waiting for him. After a brief, desperate threat, Lin Yaoai's bodyguard is killed, and Nan Ziying activates his Asura Dragon Slayer skill, a power that nullifies spatial abilities. Trapped and powerless, Lin Yaoai screams for mercy as the tamed beasts descend and devour him. Miles away, an Esper named Su Leng senses the immense power radiating from Yi and realizes a supreme Esper has emerged. The medical herb team emerges from their armored vehicle, now safe after Nan Ziying has dealt with the wolves. He playfully chastises his newly tamed pack for being too affectionate and orders them to sit and behave. He praises their performance and rewards them with head pats, then gives them a new task, to hunt for source stones in the northern wilderness. He watches them go before heading back to the slaughterhouse. He is met by Zhang Yuan, who confirms that Lin Yaoai and his entire team were wiped out by a beast tide. When she asks if it was his doing, he playfully shushes her, saying some secrets must be kept, and confirms he told Lin Yaoai he wanted some mutant wolves. Impressed, she asks if he can control beasts too. He deflects, and she informs him that the evidence she submitted has led to the seizure of Lin Yaoai's assets. She offers to buy him a drink to celebrate, but he declines, stating he's not in the mood given the nation's crisis. He then proposes another way for her to thank him: use her connections to turn his slaughterhouse into the largest in the city, receiving 10 to 100 times more mutant animals. She agrees, knowing the higher-ups will love the idea given the supply shortages at the front. The next day, his plan is in motion, and he relishes the ease with which he can now harvest source stones. Meanwhile, he continues building his beast army in the wilderness, organizing a 1,000,000-strong beast tide of steel giant wolves. 2 days later, his taming efforts have yielded 9 million source stones. He uses this power to tame 500,000 level 5 steel giant wolves in the northern wilderness. He then proceeds to the White Bone Plains and tames 500,000 level 6 blazing steel yaks, ordering them to gather source stones and not harm humans. With 1,000,000 source stones remaining, he travels to the Rift Canyon to tame a group of level 7 rampant apes. He finds their speed and ferocity formidable, but they are still within his taming range. He hears a strange roar and his taming attempt fails, forcing him to engage the apes in combat. He realizes a boss must be behind the interference and fights his way through the horde. He easily dispatches a large ape guarding a cave and calls for its leader to come out. A colossal ape king at least level 9 emerges from the darkness. It moves with incredible speed, attempting to devour him, but Nan Ziying, protected by his Asura power, meets its attack head-on. He activates his Hell on Earth mode at full power, ready to face the powerful beast. Elsewhere, 2 Espers from the Paranormal Investigation and Monitoring Agency, Su Leng and Chen Care, are on watch. Su Leng asks Care if she's sure about the powerful energy she sensed earlier, and the younger girl complains about pulling another all-nighter. Suddenly, they both feel the immense killing intent radiating from Nan Ziying's battle. Care activates her time-tracing ability to get a look at the source. She is thrown back by the vision, blood streaming from her eyes. Terrified by what she saw, she stammers that it was an Asura demon. Back in the canyon, Nan Ziying stands over the beaten ape king, asking if it's had enough. He invites it to join his ranks and fight the 10,000 races together. The ape king bows its head in submission. Nan Ziying deactivates his Asura mode and gives the apes their orders: hold the canyon and harvest source stones, harming no humans or cities. With a new army of 1,000,000 rampant apes, he now has 3 territories under his control. At the agency, the 2 Espers ponder the 2 powerful energy signatures they've detected recently, wondering if they could belong to the same person. They decide to announce the new rankings, with the mysterious black-clad man and his Asura ability now occupying the 10th spot. The next day, the news breaks and online forums are ablaze with discussion about the new Asura Esper. Nan Ziying is at the slaughterhouse when he hears the news that all 8 defense lines have fallen, and the veteran recall policy has been activated. He receives a text from his father inviting him to dinner. At home, his father Nan Xingjian is being interviewed about his decision to re-enlist. When the reporter asks for his take on his son refusing to enlist, his father defends him, stating that as long as he doesn't go against ethics, he supports his choices. The reporter presses Nan Ziying for comment, but his father angrily intervenes, revealing he had volunteered for the 7th defense line instead of the safer 6th. His sister Nan Zishan also declares she has applied to be a medical volunteer at the same line. His brother offers to go in his place, and the tense family dinner ends with the reporter leaving. That night, after his family has left for the front, Nan Ziying receives a letter from his father. In it, his father expresses his pride and reveals he knows Nan Ziying is the mysterious Asura on the ranking board. Touched, Nan Ziying tells his worried workers that he will apply to be the chief engineer for the new reserve 5th defense line. He explains to himself that going to the battlefield now would be pointless. The 5th defense line is humanity's last stand, and he must fortify it. 3 days later, the construction of a massive, electrified steel wall is underway according to his designs. He knows the wall itself is just a smokescreen. The real defense lies in the formations he will lay. Using millions of source stones, he begins deploying vast arrays of blazing flame and elemental sword kai formations, stacking 50,000 of each per kilometer. Within a day, he has created a 10-kilometer-long defensive zone layered with 25 million stacked formations. The next day, news reports criticize his project as a waste of resources, and public outcry grows. Undeterred, he tells the head engineer to continue construction while he plans further enhancements. He designs 2 moats, one filled with water, the other with crude oil, to create a high-voltage death trap in a subsequent firestorm. With his formation master ability now at level 4, he senses a powerful Xeno's aura approaching, accompanied by a human one. Realizing an assassination attempt is underway. Deep in the mountains, a young man named Choosing emerges from seclusion 2 years early, drawn by a powerful aura he sensed from the northwestern frontier. His master, the Chu clan patriarch, warns him against traveling there due to rumors of Xenos hunting ancient prodigies, but Xing is determined to seek guidance from the powerful expert he felt. As he flies toward the northwest, he's amazed by a vast and intricate network of formations. Realizing a great master must be hidden in the area, his admiration is cut short by the sudden appearance of a Xenos assassin, an iron slaughterer, followed by another, a rotting colossus. The 2 powerful Xenos elites attack him simultaneously, and he struggles to fend them off with his sword domain. Meanwhile, Nan Ziying is also rushing toward the scene. He recalls from his past life that the ancient prodigies only revealed themselves in the 12th year of the invasion. But their combined strength bought humanity another 8 years of war before their eventual defeat. He knows that the Xenos sent their top assassins to Earth early to eliminate these prodigies before they could become a threat, and he resolves not to let them fall before their time. Back in the battle, Chu Xinghe is overwhelmed and on the brink of death. Just as a fatal blow is about to land, Nan Ziying arrives, blocking the attack and introducing himself as the powerful senior Xing had sensed. He confirms Xing can still fight and instructs him to provide long-range support while he takes on the Iron Slaughterer. The Xenos, detecting an unknown level Esper, targets Nan Ziying, who calmly greets the Iron Slaughterer and activates a gnarled Earth Spike formation. When the initial attack proves insufficient, he stacks 50,000 Earth Spike formations and 50,000 Frostbite formations, instantly freezing the Iron Slaughterer in a massive ice crystal. Xing is stunned by the overwhelming power, realizing this mysterious senior is the master of the formations he had seen earlier. However, the rotting colossus shatters the ice, freeing its comrade, and attacks Xing. Nan Ziying intervenes again, using his Asura Berserker ability to clash with the beast. Xinghe is shocked to recognize him as the mysterious rank 10 Asura Esper from the recent rankings. Nan Ziying decides to use the battle as a training opportunity for the prodigy and draws an amplification formation on Xinghe's hand, boosting his power tenfold. As Xinghe screams from the influx of power, a system warning appears, stating that a human body cannot withstand more than a tenfold amplification. Nan Ziying stops, realizing it's too risky, and decides to end the fight himself. He unleashes his own domain sword Manifest, which is shattered by the Iron Slaughterer. Unfazed, he activates a level 4 Thunderbolt Barrage formation, overloading it by 50,000 times and obliterating the Xenos in a massive electrical explosion. Xing, awestruck, pledges his and his clan's loyalty to Nan Ziying. Nan Ziying accepts his help and, after some clever deduction from Xing about his true identity as Nan Ziying from the news, agrees to let him and his clan go to the 7th defense line to buy him time. He promises to reveal his true face when they meet again at the 5th defense line. Before they part, Nan Ziying bestows his amplification formation upon the entire Chu clan and accepts Xing's mute little sister, Chu Tian, into his care, recognizing her powerful teleportation abilities. News of Chu Xing's emergence and his new rank on the Esper list spreads quickly. At the Yi City slaughterhouse, Nan Ziying is introduced to Chu Tian, who the gossiping workers mistake for an ordinary child. He realizes she is the same Chu Tian from the Esper rankings, a powerful spatial ability user. With her help, he can manage all the slaughterhouses along the 5th defense line, and he no longer needs to find a cover job for his newly awakened 4th ability, Necromancy. A system window details his new Necromancy skill, which requires 1,000,000 undead to level up. Zhang Yuan finds him and questions his plan to handle the workload of 20 cities, but he confidently tells her to just get him the authorization. He knows that with the influx of source stones and Chu Tian's teleportation, he can upgrade and deploy his defenses at an unprecedented rate. He begins using the source stones to level up his necromancy, and with Chu Tian's help teleports to the Qin Emperor's mausoleum. After a slight miscalculation in teleportation distance, he arrives and uses his necromancy to awaken the spirit of the great Qin dynasty. The powerful spirit of Emperor Ying Zhang Qin Shi Huang materializes, but the system states he is too high level to be summoned. Nan Ziying, undeterred, addresses the emperor, pleading for his army to help save his world. The Emperor scoffs at his paltry displays and attacks, but Nanziying in Asura mode meets his power head-on, declaring that one can only truly know strength through a fight. The two clash, with Nanziying unleashing his Asura Dragon Slayer and the Emperor countering with his own Supreme Emperor's might. Nanziying pushes his power to the maximum, activating his Hell on Earth mode and overpowering the Emperor's Spirit Dragon. Defeated, the Emperor yields and after hearing the story of the world's peril agrees to lend his aid. He bestows a Tiger Tally upon Nanziying, which will make summoning the Great Kin warriors far easier. Nanziying raises the tally and calls forth the armies of Kin, successfully summoning 10 million undead soldiers. He then unlocks his fifth and final talent tree, Elemental Forbidden Spellcaster. At that moment, he senses two Xenos assassins targeting two different prodigies. Unable to save both on his own, he summons the spirits of the great generals Wang Jian and Meng Tian to handle the western threat while he and Chu Tian teleport east. They arrive to find Su Chang, a prodigy of the Su clan, battling Xenos assassins. In the west, the Qin clan prodigies Qin Ying and Qin Sui are also under attack. After a fierce battle, Qin Sui is injured, but Nanziying teleports the Xenos away before they can land a killing blow. He appears before the prodigies, amplifies their power tenfold, and then unleashes a 100x overloaded lightning forbidden spell, obliterating half of the assassins. The prodigies, empowered, finish off the rest, with Nanziying using an earth element spell to entomb the last one. As the dust settles, Su Chang and Emperor Qin Shi Huang arrive, having defeated their opponents as well. Nanziying offers them all the tenfold amplification, and Su Chang correctly deduces his identity as Nanziying, the Asura Esper. He agrees to lead the prodigies to the 7th defense line to buy Nanziying time, promising to protect his family. Nanziying thanks them all and sends them on their way with the 10 million Qin soldiers. News spreads of the prodigies' victories and their march to the front lines. Meanwhile, Nanziying reflects that the prodigies are awakening earlier in this life, but they are also being targeted sooner, making his mission to save them all the more difficult. He resolves to strike at the heart of the problem, and with Chu Tian, heads to the northern wilderness to awaken the 5 great prodigies himself and lure out all the remaining assassins. He told Chu Tian to take them to the nearby Han tombs first. Standing beneath a full moon, he called for his great ancestors of Han to awaken, declaring that the world needed them once more for humble plea. With swirling red energy, he specifically called out to Emperor Wu, General Wai King, and General Huo Quabang. A massive wave of crimson power exploded outwards as he shouted that those who offended the might of Han would face their wrath, no matter how far they were. A system window detailed his level 3 Necromancy skill, listing his current summons as 10 million Qin Dynasty soldiers and 20 million Han Dynasty soldiers, along with their undying loyalty trait and upgrade requirements. He commanded the 20 million Han warriors to march on the northern wilderness and destroy the invaders. He then declared it was time for the 5 great prodigies to make their grand entrance. Deciding to begin with Asura, he unleashed his max level, Hell on Earth mode. At the Paranormal Investigation and Monitoring Agency, 2 agents detected the mysterious Asura's energy signature. They noted his aura was countless times stronger than before and concluded he must have gone completely berserk, resolving to report to the military that he was in the northern wilderness go-by. Nanziying then began forming ranks with fiery energy, calling on the power of heaven and earth, with thunder as his guide and frost as his chains, to shatter the sky, freeze the air, and seal the land. He cast a flurry of spells, Elemental Sword Kai Inferno, a gnarled Earthspike formation, and a Frostbite formation, overlapping them a millionfold to create a 100-mile-wide attack before deploying it. The female agent at the agency detected another energy surge, identifying it as formation magic from the same location and wondering if it was the mysterious formation master from the Esper rankings. A new power then manifested as he summoned the Great Hand spirits through Necromancy. The spectral green figures of Emperor Wu Wai King and Huo Quabang appeared, vowing to destroy the invaders for the glory of the Great Han. The agents were stunned, realizing that a third prodigy, a necromancer, was also present. The male agent noted the energy signature was beyond anything they had ever recorded, not even fitting on their 10-level scale. The female agent stated that if they had to classify it, it would be divine level. Her colleague was shocked at the thought of 3 divine-level Espers appearing at once, and they agreed to immediately report to the highest military command. Nanziying then cast a Forbidden Light element spell with a 100x overload, creating a brilliant flash that lit up the night sky, making citizens in a nearby city think it was dawn. They checked the trending news and found a headline about 4 mysterious divine-level prodigies converging on the northern wilderness, with the military dispatching aircraft to investigate. As the military mobilized, rushing toward the northern border, Nanziying summoned a massive beast tide consisting of 500,000 steel wolves and blazing steel yaks, and 1 million rampant apes and war elephants, ordering them to assemble. A news alert flashed, reporting 4 massive beast tides converging on the area and suspecting a 5th divine-level Esper, a beast tamer, was involved. A pharmaceutical factory, Su Zion showed the news to Chen Liani, recalling a man who once controlled a wolf pack that ambushed them, wondering if this was the same person, now 100 times stronger. At a resource center, Zhang Yuan immediately thought of Nanziying upon hearing Asura and Beastmaster. In the Eastern Sea, the Lan clan prodigy Lan Changkong stood atop a giant shark and declared he had to meet a beast tamer of such caliber. Inland, Zhuge Yuan of the Zhuge clan sensed the elemental forbidden magic and rushed towards the northern wilderness, viewing it as a golden opportunity. Prodigies from the Xuanyuan, Huang, and Yu clans were also drawn by the commotion. Nan Ziying watched them all take the bait, seeing it as a good chance to amplify them. With everything in place, he stated that all that remained was to wait for the Xeno assassins to appear. Inland Huang Xuan of the Huang clan found himself surrounded by assassins and defiantly vowed not to go down without a fight. The assassins suddenly stopped and retreated, confusing him. Nan Ziying smirked, announcing that his forces had finally arrived. The massive beast tides and undead spirits erupted from the ground, surrounding the bewildered Huang Xuan as Nan Ziying declared that the slaughter would begin. He unleashed his Asura burial slaughter and Asura hell on earth techniques, carving a path through the Xenos. He observed that even with the amplification, his beast tides and undead spirits were still outmatched by the counter-type Xenos, which would lead to unnecessary losses. He issued orders to his summoned armies, instructing them to encircle the enemy while he drew their fire from the center. He assigned the beast tides to target the steel slayers and trolls, while the poison-immune undead spirits were to handle the venomous apemen and rotting behemoths. He activated an overlapping formation in the Xenos territory. He told Chu Tian he needed his help, instructing him to teleport him directly to any Xenos that broke through the formation. He instantly appeared in front of a giant troll just as it was about to attack Chu Tian. Nan Ziying cast a 50x overloaded Forbidden Wind Element spell, shredding the troll to pieces. He praised Chu Tian's work but suggested he aim a bit higher next time. Knowing the prodigies and military were approaching, he decided to end the fight, casting a 50x overloaded Forbidden Lightning spell, a Soaring Earthchaser spell, and a 500x overloaded Entomb spell. The arriving Zhu Jiyun was stunned by the extraordinary level of earth manipulation, wondering what manner of being could wield such power. Nan Ziying then cast a body amplification formation on Zhu Jiyun and the other prodigies, increasing their power tenfold. He instructed Chu Tian to teleport them out. Zhu Jiyun asked for his name, but Nan Ziying only told him to follow the message he left for them and the military before vanishing in a flash of purple light. Zhu Jiyun understood the mysterious senior did not wish to reveal his identity and resolved to honor his request. Military helicopters arrived at the desolate, rocky battlefield, where Supreme Commander Zhu Chaiyang questioned the absence of any bodies. Zhu Jiyun explained that the formation prodigy had buried all the Xeno assassins. He recounted how the masked prodigy amplified their abilities before disappearing, leaving behind a message carved into a large rock. The message summoned all high-ranking military officials and ancient clan leaders to the 5th Defense Line for an emergency meeting. Nan Ziying reflected on his choice to remain anonymous, knowing that if the military discovered the 5 prodigies were a single person, the retaliation would be immense. He recalled how human conflict accelerated their downfall in his past life, and decided that acting as a strategist from the shadows was the best course. News alerts showed various prodigies and their clans heading to reinforce the 7th Defense Line in accordance with his instructions. At the emergency meeting, Xunyu and Rulong interpreted the carved message as a grand strategy involving 4 monumental projects: an artificial volcano of crude oil, a man-made canal, a jungle of steel, and a mountain of source stones. General Fang Lin objected, calling the plan reckless and based on the word of the unstable Asura. However, Zhu Changming argued that the prodigies were clearly working together and that their demands pointed toward grand formations for a final stand. The leaders ultimately agreed, deciding that after the prodigies had wiped out thousands of assassins, this gamble was their only hope. As construction began on the massive projects, shocking the public, Nan Ziying watched with satisfaction, convinced they had made the right bet. Suddenly, a massive red void gate opened in the sky above the 7th Defense Line, 2 years ahead of schedule. Horrified, he realized his father and sister, Choosing, were in danger. He immediately summoned 20 million Han Dynasty warriors and 3 million Beast Tides, ordering them to the 7th Defense Line. He called for Chu Tian, asking if he could teleport him and the Beast Tides over 1,000 kilometers to the front lines. Despite the strain, Chu Tian insisted he could do it. At the 7th Defense Line battlefield, the dimensional rift widened and prodigies led the charge against the Xeno horde. Commander Wang Zai ordered his men to hold the line at all costs, while gunner Nan Shanhong lamented their dwindling munitions. Wang Zai reminded him of how the prodigy's undead army had saved them before, urging him to believe as they resolved to give their lives to cover the young fighters. The prodigies unleashed their abilities, with Su Chang casting a domain sword manifest and Heartseeker sword volley. Suddenly, a colossal Xeno as large as the city walls emerged from the rift. The giant monster attacked, overwhelming the defenders. The spirit of Bai Kai was told to protect Su Chang, while the warriors of Qin rallied to fight the beast head-on, declaring they had nothing to fear now that they lived again. As the prodigies banded together to fight the leader, Chu Tian, 200 kilometers away, pushed himself to complete the teleport, driven by the thought of his brother on the battlefield. Ying Zhang led the undead army to hold back the lesser aliens while the prodigies focused on the giant beast, combining their attacks in a flurry of elemental powers and formations. One prodigy, Suisui, was injured in a counterattack. From a helicopter, Senior Nan Shanhong announced his plan to blow the creature up with a mini-nuke in a suicide mission, believing it was the duty of the old soldiers to die for the young. Just as he began to pilot the chopper towards the monster, a voice yelled for him to pull back. Nan Shanhong recognized the voice of his son. A massive energy beam descended, and Nan Ziying landed with Chu Tian and Choosing, who was instructed to take care of the exhausted teleporter. The commander on the ground questioned the newcomer's order to shut down the satellites, but Choosing urged him to comply. Nanziying activated his full-power Asura mode, his body transforming as he faced the giant A-rank bloodline Xeno, the Blade Titan. He addressed the creature with familiarity, stating it had been a long time, bitch. The Titan was revealed to be a female Xeno known as Princess Ladrutha. On the battlefield, one of the prodigies wondered if the newcomer could be the mysterious Asura everyone was talking about. Another dismissed the idea, pointing out that he had just used forbidden spells, suggesting he might be a rare dual-class Esper. A third scoffed, declaring the man was on a whole other level. Nanziying, in his full Asura form, unleashed a wave of green energy, ordering the Han Dynasty army to charge and the Qin Dynasty army to fight with all their might. Not to be outdone, he instructed the soldiers and prodigies to fall back heel and catch their breath, assuring them he would handle the current wave. The Blade Titan, Princess Ladrutha, acknowledged his exceptional talent but vowed to show him no mercy. Nanziying transformed, unleashing his Asura Berserker power. He launched a devastating combo using Asura Dragon Slayer, Asura Demon Slayer, and finally Asura Hell on Earth, which seemingly obliterated the Titan. The other warriors were stunned that he had defeated the Blade Titan so easily when the 5 of them together could barely scratch it. Nanziying noted that the fight shouldn't have been so simple, and as he watched, the Titan's remains began to assemble and transform. The creature reformed into a massive, immobile spherical shape. Nanziying identified it as the Titan's ultimate form, realizing its core energy was now concentrated in the center, making its weak point easier to find but rendering it unable to move. As he turned to face it, an old warrior yelled for him to look out. The sphere launched a surprise attack, but Nanziying turned back and countered with a 50x Overdrive Forbidden Wind Element spell, creating a massive tornado. He followed up with a 50x Overdrive Forbidden Lightning spell and sliced through the sphere with his Asura's Demon Blade. The core tried to escape, but Nanziying trapped it with a Forbidden Wood Element spell and finished it with his Hell on Earth technique, utterly destroying it. The onlookers were in awe, realizing their benefactor's power wasn't limited to a single element. Nan Shanhong looked on, admitting his son was truly terrifying. Nanziying then commanded his undead spirits and beast tides to form a path, 1 kilometer wide and 30 kilometers long, declaring it was time to set up formations. He laid down 1.5 million elemental sword Kai formations, followed by millions of gnarled Earth Spike, Frostbite, and Thunderbolt Barrage formations, all within a 30-kilometer radius. He then cast a Forbidden Earth spell, causing giant stone ancients to rise from the ground. He activated a 3 million Undead Amplification formation with a 300-kilometer radius, causing his formation master ability to level up to 5. He attempted to activate 3 million Colossal Beast Slayer formations, but a system notification alerted him that he had insufficient Source Stones, with only 36 million remaining. Realizing he was rushing, he conserved his resources, instead casting a single target 10x amplification formation on his 3 million beast tides. He decided to use his last 6 million source stones as a final trump card, setting up a 100,000x overdrive, 50x amplification formation that stretched 30 kilometers along the entire city wall. Su Chang'e felt the immense energy surge and finally understood why Nanziying had ordered the satellites shut down. He was a god with 5 abilities in a single body, an anomaly that would incite fear in humanity itself. He mused that while humanity prayed for God, they would fear a real one when he appeared. But now that they were on the front lines, Nanziying trusted them. With his source stones depleted, Nanziying resolved to wipe out the remaining aliens with his Asura power alone. Back at the base, Nan Shanhong proudly told his comrade that his son had saved his life, dismissing the notion that he should call the divine-level prodigy anything other than kid. Inside a medical ward, Zhang Yuan watched over the exhausted Chuzing, who worried that Nanziying was overexerting himself because of their weakness. Zhang Yuan left to tend to other patients, telling Chuzing that deep down, Nanziying was grateful for her presence. Moments later, Chu Tian awoke, immediately asking about the battle and worrying about Nanziying's source stone supply before rushing out to help. On the battlefield, Chuzing confronted Nanziying, telling him to return to his own battlefield where humanity's future lay. He thanked his brother, and before she left, she relayed a message from her father who promised to cook for him after the war and handed him a small object. Nanziying returned to the slaughterhouse, his source stones replenished to 80 million, and planned his next move, taming more beast tides and setting up the 5th defense line before the 7th collapsed. Meanwhile, citizens across the Northwest discussed the strange mass awakening of powers and the mutation of local flora, realizing that Earth's spiritual energy was increasing. Nanziying took Chu Tian to Meteor Valley to tame a tide of level 7 mutated giant eagles. They found a group of Espers being overwhelmed. One man was captured and his comrades abandoned him. Nanziying descended, easily taming the beasts, his beast tamer ability reaching level 9. He ordered the eagle to release the man, but it simply dropped him, forcing Nanziying to scold it for its stupidity and order it to save him. The rescued man, Huang Jia of the Huang clan, revealed that prodigies from various inland families were rushing to claim the newly energized Spirit Mountains for cultivation. Nanziying realized the energy spike was from the Xeno's Void Gate and planned to use the mountains to activate an undead resonance and grant power to 1 million people. He sent Huang Jia back with a message. All Spirit Mountains were now his, and any who disobeyed would be killed without mercy. He then proceeded to tame a tide of mutated poisonous lizards to counter the Xeno's behemoths. Next, he traveled to the Tang Dynasty tombs and summoned the spirits of its emperors and warriors. His Necromancy leveled up to 6, unlocking the undead spirit's resonance skill. He dispatched the Tang spirits to secure the 3 great mountain ranges. At Tang Madao Mountain, the prodigy Huang Xiao arrogantly claimed the area, only to be confronted by Nan Ziying. After a tense exchange where Huang Xiao sacrificed his own servant, Nan Ziying easily overpowered him with a forbidden lightning spell. Just as he was about to land the final blow, the patriarch of the Huang family, Huang Jiushan, arrived. Nan Ziying revealed his identity as the forbidden spellcaster and explained his grand plan. The patriarch, seeing the bigger picture, struck down his own son's defender for his insolence and agreed to relinquish the mountains for the sake of humanity. With the mountains secured, Nan Ziying stood atop the summit and activated the level 6 undead spirit's resonance. A divine song echoed across the land, reaching hospitals and military bases, causing a mass awakening of power in millions of people in the northwest. News reports spread, also covering the strange transformation of the primeval woods into a jungle of steel. Nan Ziying and Chu Tian teleported to the woods and found that the trees had become sentient. Moving legion preparing to attack a city, he easily pacified and tamed the 80 million ironwood behemoths. His Beast Tamer ability reached its max level of 10, unlocking King's Aura, Ancient Awakening, and a new forbidden spell, Lifestorm. Overwhelmed by the sudden power-up, he collapsed from exhaustion. After waking a day later in his dorm, he was comforted by a worried Chu Tian, whom he reassured was a great help. Using the vast amount of source stones they had gathered, he fortified the entire 5th defense line with tens of millions of high-level formations, leveling up his formation master skill to 7. As news of the completed Grand Canal project sparked outrage among the public, 3 inland Sovereign King-level prodigies announced they would live-stream their destruction of the project. Seeing an opportunity, Nan Ziying cast a level 5 water forbidden spell, the Water Dragon's Onslaught, preparing to turn the canal into a terrifying killing field for the arrogant newcomers. A massive water dragon forms in the night sky, lunging downward as a figure on the ground braces for impact. The dark-haired warrior enters his Asura mode, a red aura flaring around him as he prepares to defend against the colossal wave of water magic crashing down. A crimson energy shield erupts from him, clashing with the water spell, which he identifies as a level 5 water forbidden spell, noting with surprise that it pushed his Asura form's defenses so far. He considers that stacking these spells with the Grand Canal's power could be a game changer. Activating a 5000x overdrive, he unleashes his own level 5 water forbidden spell, a Water Dragon's Onslaught. A system window appears, indicating that his elemental forbidden spellcaster ability has hit level 6. He reflects that it shouldn't be long now before it's fully maxed out. Elsewhere, 3 figures stand over the Grand Canal. One declares it's time to tear it down and give the people what they want, as comments flash by from a livestream, praising the 3 sovereign kings for their decisive action. One of the men, Brother Zhao, offers to destroy the canal himself, but another insists on taking the first project. Suddenly, a new voice tells them to hold their horses. A figure cloaked in red energy, Nan Ziying, appears and unleashes an attack called Annihilating True Fire, charging and vaporizing their location. The 3 prodigies are shocked, realizing someone wants to play dirty. Nan Ziying states that if everyone wants in on the action, they'll do it together. The 3 prodigies unleash their own powerful attacks, an army-breaking slash and an earth-splitting mountain spell, eliciting cries of awe from unseen observers who comment on their epic power. Some remark that using such power on a single canal feels like using a cannon to kill a mosquito. Meanwhile, at Tang Madao Mountain, the undead spirit's energy is growing stronger. A young boy asks his companion, Brother Nan, if the awakening townspeople's abilities will also get stronger, to which he receives an affirmative. Back in the sky, Nan Ziying notices 4 shooting stars curving in midair. He gets a familiar, bad feeling. Realizing it must be an A-rank Xeno and wonders if more assassins have been sent. He senses the water spells from the canal going haywire and questions if the aliens knew his plan and are trying to get a jump on him. Deciding there's no point in hiding, he activates the canal's forbidden spell, unleashing a Water Dragon's Onslaught. At the Grand Canal, the 3 prodigies mock the insignificant canal, boasting that destroying it is child's play. Suddenly, one of them notices the water changing, asking what is happening. A swirling vortex of red and blue energy erupts from the water as a forbidden spell activates. 2 massive water dragons emerge, causing the prodigies to scream and run. A status update from the livestream reports that the 3 sovereign kings were swallowed by a water beast, questioning if the Northwestern project holds some hidden power. A shadowy figure with glowing red eyes emerges from the water. One of the prodigies, trapped in a bubble of water, begs for help. Nan Ziying appears before them, asking if they aren't one of the aliens. He uses his power to cease the spell, freeing them. He demands to know who they are and why they are causing so much destruction. They identify themselves as prodigies of the 3 great families from the inland. Nan Ziying calls them ignorant fools. One of the prodigies explains that they now understand the situation. Realizing that the alien assassins must be heading for their headquarters, Nan Ziying tells them to take him to their clans now. He warns them to hurry unless they want their clans exterminated. The word exterminated shocks them. At Skycrest Mountain, the Zhao family's state is in flames. A young man cries out for his father and clan leader as he witnesses the devastation. He questions what is happening, realizing the Zhao family has been wiped out. Nan Ziying arrives with the surviving prodigies, confirming it was the work of an A-rank Xeno, just as he feared. He tells the grieving youth that now is not the time to mourn and to come with him if he wants revenge. He directs Chu Tian to take them to the Cayenne family estate at Phoenix Mountain Range. They arrive to find it also engulfed in flames. Next, they race to the Sun family estate at Jade Pass Mountain, where they find a massive, fiery bird. An A-rank Xeno called the Blazing Sky Eagle wreaking havoc. The Sun clan leader, engulfed in flames, declares the alien freak is going down with him. He prepares to self-detonate with an extreme fire technique. The explosion engulfs the area and his clan members cry out his name. The Blazing Sky Eagle emerges from the fire, remarking that humans are small, weak, powerless creatures, nothing but corpses waiting to happen. Nan Ziying appears before it, asking if it's sure about that. He declares that he will show the creature what humans are truly capable of. He unleashes a flurry of attacks, army-breaking slash, earth-splitting mountain, and annihilating true fire which slam into the eagle. The three prodigies are injured in the backlash. Nan Ziying tells them to stand aside and watch as he activates Asura's plummet slaughter, a beam of red energy striking the eagle. He then unleashes Asura Berserker, a whirlwind of red blades that shred the air around the creature. The prodigies are in awe of his potent Asura-killing aura, realizing he is the Asura from the northwest, not the forbidden spellcaster. The eagle teleports to avoid the attack. A young girl, the Lil Boss Lady, appears beside Nan Ziying and he compliments her on her nice work. Together they unleash Asura Demon Slayer, a combined attack of purple and red energy. The eagle admits they are not bad, declaring them worthy not of death but of slavery. Nan Ziying retorts that he'll make the eagle eat those words. He unleashes Asura Dragon Slayer, a massive red energy construct, warning the creature that its healing powers won't work when it's in pieces. The eagle calls humans ignorant and arrogant before telling them to die. Nan Ziying yells that he's had enough of this crap and unleashes Asura Hell on Earth, a massive slash attack. The eagle boasts that its spark remains, making the attack useless. In response, Nan Ziying activates a frostbite formation with a 50,000x overdrive. A wave of intense cold freezes the eagle solid in midair, shattering it into pieces, shocking the onlookers who wonder how the Asura knows formations too. Nan Ziying uses a 10x single-target amplification. He tells the prodigies that he saw the creature's strengths and weaknesses and that the ice will only hold it for some time. He tells them now is their chance to avenge their clans with their own hands. One of them starts to ask him a question, but he cuts them off, telling them not to ask and to head to the 5th defense line to prepare for war after they are done. He states that a greater enemy of all humanity awaits them there. A news report confirms that 4 A-class Xeno assassins were spotted, and that the Zhao, Cayenne, and Sun clans were wiped out, with the prodigies aided by the Asura. Slaying the Blazing Sky Eagle, Nan Ziying tells Chu Tian to gather source stones and head to the East Sea, planning to tame some beasts and wipe out the remaining assassins. At the coast, he begins a ritual under the moon, declaring that the mighty beasts of the sea will heed his decree, bow down, and serve only him. A massive tame sigil appears on the water. A system window displays his newly tamed sea beasts, 70 million mutant swordfish, 20 million mutant tiger sharks, and 10 million mutant white sharks. With a sound that shakes the heavens, he summons their whetstones. A massive vortex forms in the ocean, a sight that Chu Tian admits even he might not be able to escape easily. Elsewhere, Lan Changkong, prodigy of the East Sea Land family, spots the sea beast Frenzy in the distance, noting he's never seen so many. He alerts his clan and prepares for battle. He uses his water control technique, Dragon's March, vowing to not let the beast run rampant. As he approaches, he realizes it's a beast-tied alliance of different species, formed like an army, which is surrounding him. Chu Tian suddenly appears, yelling that the idiots have the wrong guy and reminding Nan Ziying that he forgot to tell them not to attack cities or harm humans. Nan Ziying telepathically commands the beast to slay the alien invaders. The killing aura vanishes, and Lan Changkong wonders if it's the beast-taming prodigy from the northwest. Nan Ziying appears as a shadowy master of the sea, offering a choice, slavery or death. As alien assassins arrive, Lan Changkong realizes they are all after him, thinking he is the beast tamer. He steels himself for a fight, saying it is an honor to fight the enemies of the divine-level beast tamer. The sea beast tides engage the assassins first, and he wonders if the beast tamer is commanding them. Nan Ziying issues orders. Swordfish are to take the Cyclops demonic turtle, tiger sharks are to take out the spike serpent, and white sharks are to rip the glacial drake to shreds. The glacial drake dismisses the sharks as insects and unleashes a glacial freeze. The spike serpent calls its attackers bugs and fires a giant stinger barrage. The Cyclops demonic turtle calls the attack futile and triggers an earth-shattering collapse. Nan Ziying notes that the sea beasts can handle anything below A rank, but are out of their league against these foes. He activates 50x amplification formations, extending their range 700 nautical miles. Lan Changkong is shocked by the red energy formations spreading across the ocean. The assassins break through the sea beasts and come straight for him. He declares he will fight them to his last breath. The glacial drake lunges, but Lan Changkong's water dragon is unable to hold it back. He's thrown back by the force of the attack. As he falls, he notices an amplification formation materializing around him. He unleashes his water control technique, Endless Ocean, which is now massively powered up, easily neutralizing the spike serpent and the Cyclops demonic turtle. On a distant shore, Nan Ziying remarks that the battle strength is now about right. He tells Chu Tian to bring Lan Changkong over. Lan Changkong appears before them, expressing his deep gratitude for them saving his life. He asks if they would reveal themselves so he can thank them in person. Nan Ziying and Chu Tian appear before him, and he is shocked to see that the legendary seniors are just kids. He asks who they are, but Chu Tian tells him to just listen. Nan Ziying asks Lan Changkong if he could handle the responsibility of using the East Sea as bait to lure and eliminate the Ilian assassins. Lan Changkong pledges his life to the cause. Nan Ziying then grants him the power of the 10x internal amplification formation, making him the master of the East Sea and its 100 million sea beasts. Far away, a void gate rips open in the sky, and Chu Tian's sister cries out in fear for her brother. Realizing the 7th defense line might not hold, an alert sounds that the alien A-class main force has arrived, and Senior Nan has ordered an immediate retreat from the 7th defense line. The 6th line has already fully retreated, and all units are to converge on the 5th defense line for a decisive battle. A commander orders a full retreat to conserve strength for the stand at the 5th line. He tells another commander to lead the main force back while they buy some time. Activating an ultimate amplification formation, the older generation of warriors tells the younger ones to go, saying the rear defense is for the old-timers to handle. The youth bid a solemn farewell to their ancestors and the noble spirits of the beast tides as news headlines report the full retreat, with only undead spirits and beast tides left to fight to the death. Another headline notes that all 4 major projects in the Northwest are now completed. At the 5th line, the people of the Northwest declare they will hold the line with their lives. Nan Ziying begins the final phase of his plan, activating the Burning Heaven Stone project to achieve full absorption of its power. His Source Stone reserves swell to 10 trillion. He then activates the Forest of Steel, a gold forbidden spell, followed by the Heart of the Volcano, deploying 100,000 lava forbidden spells. Finally, he accesses the max-level forbidden spell, Star Origin Endless Annihilator, a power so immense it might be more than the Earth can withstand. He decides he must hold it back and use it only at the most critical moment. He and Chu Tian travel inland, a land perfect for beast taming and summoning the undead. He calls upon the ancestors of ages past to awaken. The heroic spirits of China's 3 kingdoms period, Wei, Shu, and Wu materialize, followed by the spirits of the Song, Yu, and Ming. In Qing dynasties, a system window confirms his ancient heroic spirit summoner ability is at max level, with 100 million total summons. He then unleashes his beast taming to its full throttle, commanding all mutated poisonous insects and venomous snakes to hear him and obey. His Soul Propagation Epoch Beast Tamer ability is also maxed out, controlling 1 billion land beast tides and 1 billion sea beasts. He awakens their ancient power, amplifying their might. With his power fully unleashed, he declares his intent to go to the 5th line. Chu Tian pleads with him, saying he's pushing himself too hard, but Nan Ziying insists they have no time to waste. His hair begins to turn white from the strain. He tells Chu Tian to take him to the 5th defense line. There he deploys layers upon layers of lethal formations, Purgatory Fire, Infernal Sword Kai, and an Abyssal Thorn formation, each stretching 10,000 kilometers long to protect their homeland. His Genesis God formation master ability reaches its max level. The immense power output causes a massive explosion, and he cries out in pain as the 5 supreme abilities unify within him. Back in a fortified city, the surviving prodigies return, announcing to Senior Nan that they are back. He greets them, his hair now completely white. They are shocked by his appearance. He explains it is the result of all his battle preparations. One of them asks if he's finally ready to lay his cards on the table, and he confirms it. News alerts flash, reporting that alien forces have broken through all final defense lines across the globe. In front of the assembled soldiers and citizens of the 5th defense line, Nan Ziying announces that the so-called 5 divine-level prodigies of the Northwest are all him. The crowd is stunned into disbelief. He continues, outlining the defense plan and ordering the evacuation of the elderly and children. He admits that despite all his preparations, it is still not enough to win, especially with SSS-rank aliens at the rear. He announces he is forming an Esper suicide squad to launch a counteroffensive through the Void Gate. He says he needs only 10 strong Espers with complementary abilities, one by one. The prodigies volunteer. Chu Tian, a 9-year-old god-level spatial Esper, choosing an ancient god peak-level domain aura Esper, Su Chang, a puppet master, Qin Sui and Qin Ying, plant spirit summoners, Lan Changkong, a water Esper, Zhang Yuan, a divine-level cooking Esper, Su Lang, a perception Esper, Zhao Care, a time rewind Esper, and his sister, a healer, accompanied by Chen Liani and Su Zionan. Nan Ziying thanks them all and officially declares the creation of the counteroffensive suicide squad. The alien forces arrive. The formations and forbidden spells activate, and the beast tides and undead spirits charge into battle. Nan Ziying leads the suicide squad, telling them to move out. He declares they will shatter the Void Gate and end this reign of evil as he opens a portal for them to charge through. Young man with a top knot looked around in confusion, asking where they were exactly. The girl explained that this was a little pocket dimension she had whipped up where time flowed the same as outside. She elaborated that it was perfect for resting, cooking, healing, and storing things, a personal mini-universe shielded from the outside world. The man with the top knot cheerfully called it the cozy cabin. Su Chang, however, expressed that with their mission, they shouldn't be getting comfortable. Nan Ziying countered, asking if Su Chang was some kind of spirit who didn't need food, water, or sleep. He questioned how long even a super strong person could last and pointed out that it would take more than a few days to wipe out all the aliens. He told the uptight Su Chang that they could still enjoy themselves during a war, noting that they had been up for days and Su Chang's hair was practically white from stress. A man in the background suggested they should at least recognize the girl's good intentions, while another remarked that even at the end of the world, grown-ups can't disappoint kids. A large, bearded man ecstatically declared that this was literally his dream house. The others joked about his girly side, finding it amusing. Nan Ziying asked a pair of siblings if they weren't curious to take a look, but they replied that they had sworn to follow their benefactor's lead. After a moment's hesitation, they agreed to go in, prompting the girl to remark on how stiff the plant spirit summoner siblings were. Inside, the large man's dream turned into a nightmare as he saw the interior was filled with coffin-like beds. The girl laughed, pointing out that was her little sister for him, as the boy seemed to be having an existential crisis. The others found the style unsettling, feeling like they were preparing to depart peacefully. The girl explained the style cradled memories of her childhood. She was glad everyone seemed to like it. Her brother asked how she knew the style, and she replied that it was perfect for embracing life through death. She then admitted it wasn't that deep, it was just prepped ahead of time. People began to settle in, with one man crashing into a coffin bed, finding it surprisingly comfy despite its creepiness. Others dispersed to check the kitchen, plant vegetables, and find the pharmacy. Nan Ziying told Su Chang that he was too uptight and should learn from Guo Hui, who was already fast asleep. He then suggested Su Chang get some sleep too. In the kitchen, a woman declared she had to make their kickoff meal a feast, noting that they might not all be able to eat together like this again. Yun arrived with fresh vegetables, explaining her brother was still planting more. The woman was surprised they were ready so soon. Forgetting they were plant spirit summoners, she asked why they bothered planting when they could just summon them, and Yun explained that her brother believed vegetables should grow in the ground, feeling it was more grounding that way even if they weren't around later. The cook told her not to say such things and to get out of the smoky kitchen. In the pharmacy, a woman marveled at how the little girl brought the entire setup with them and resolved to brew potions to supercharge everyone's battle prowess. In the healing room, another man decided to focus on healing and stamina boosters, Riley noting the quirky ideas of the little rascals who set up the place. Outside, Chu Tian and another set up a recon point 30 kilometers from the Void Gate. Zhao Care asked the girl why, if she could create a pocket dimension. She couldn't just create a new Earth for everyone. The girl cheekily retorted by asking why Care was flat-chested, questioning if it was by choice. Care flew into a rage, but Su Chang held her back, telling her the girl was just 9 and blurting out the brutal truth. The girl continued, saying being flat-chested was fine since at least she'd live, explaining that creating the cabin cost her 50 years of her lifespan and she might not live long enough to be called flat-chested. She then apologized, thinking to herself how easy adults were to trick. Later, as everyone gathered for a meal, Su Chang was awoken by the aroma. Nan Ziying announced he wanted to run through the plan. The girl asked if he'd die if he didn't eat first. Guo Hui offered to fill everyone in instead, explaining that the front and rear portals were active. The front led back to the 5th defense line while the back led to the Void Gate. He stated that hitting the red button on the handle would warp them to the recon point 30 kilometers from the gate, where a dedicated comms channel was set up. He assigned Su Leng and Zhao Care to man the point and designated the non-frontline fighters, Zhang Yuan, Chen Liani, Su Zionan, and Nan Zishan to handle logistics from the cabin. He asked Nan Ziying for his thoughts, who replied that Guo Hui had practically read his mind. Chen Liani disagreed with her assignment, arguing that while she wasn't a powerhouse, she could provide support on the battlefield and help if anyone was seriously injured. She assured them Chu Tian had her back for safety. Her brother then told Nan Ziying not to hold back because of her. Nan Ziying relented, allowing her to come to the front lines. He then ordered everyone else to finish eating, rest for 3 hours, and then move out, after which they would take turns resting based on how the battle unfolded. While eating, one of the logistics team members admitted it stung to be called a non-frontline fighter but knew it was true and that they would be a liability on the front lines. At the lively dinner table, someone asked for the sweet tofu pudding, while another demanded the savory kind. Su Chang was criticized for his picky eating, being compared to a pickled veggie among fresh ones, which he vehemently denied. Suddenly, a sensor alert showed 1,000,000 Awakeners signatures outside the Void Gate separate from the aliens. They identified them as the defected Indian army of Buddhas from the news. They were lying in wait with power levels ranging from level 8 to Old God. Nan Ziying rallied the team, deciding to take out the guards first before opening the door to a whole new world. With everyone ready, the portal was open. On the other side, a massive golden Buddha greeted them, its voice booming that they had been waiting for Nan Ziying's counterattack. The Buddha figure preached that the aliens were the true gods and that the compassionate Buddha advised them to surrender. Guo Hui cursed the curry breath clown, calling them sniveling lapdogs and vowing to sew their mouths shut. Su Chang cheered him on, and another team member declared that using Buddha's name for evil was disgusting. The enemy leader warned that they left them no choice but to enlighten them by force. Chanting Namu Amida Butsu, he unleashed a massive golden energy wave. Nan Ziying, cloaked in red energy, countered with his Asura hell on earth slash, proclaiming that gods would fall and Buddhas would crumble. The massive golden attack shattered but quickly reformed as the golden Buddha body was described as immortal and indestructible. Their combined strength and formation outmatched the teams. Nan Ziying realized they couldn't get dragged into a war of attrition and needed to break the formation. The enemy leader unleashed a Vajra 10,000 Fists Unite attack. Chu Tian, confident in Nan Ziying's group, declared that getting close was a piece of cake and teleported them directly into the enemy's attack. Nan Ziying immediately unleashed Thunder Asura, Curse Slash, a storm of red lightning that blasted through the golden fists. He ordered his team to take out the 4 Prajna protectors while he handled the leader, emphasizing that they must be kept separated. One of the team members delegated the targets, counting the stiff siblings as one. The the siblings. Suzayonan and her brother wondered if he was talking about them. Gyohui activated his puppet String Arena, taunting one of the protectors Vega to bring on his dirty tricks. Vega replied that Gyohui's mouth needed cleansing and the two charged at each other. Chuzing isolated another old god-level protector Anup, telling him his opponent was her. Anup advised her to stop while she could, stating those who seek Buddhahood must save themselves. Another protector, Deepak, trapped his opponent in a water screen's isolation, philosophizing that the highest good is like water and his opponent was going against the flow. The man simply replied that he wasn't anything like that. The plant spirit siblings confronted the protector Raja, who was uninterested in conversation. Suzayonan was of the same mind, raising her fallen warriors to fight for her. As her undead army swarmed forward, Nanziying faced the main leader, who was impressed by Nanziying's abilities and said it was no wonder the gods favored him. Nanziying told him to cut the crap and that he was next. The leader accused Nanziying of the three poisons of Buddhism, greed, anger, and ignorance, stating he would now taste their fruits. A psychic attack flooded Nanziying's mind, but he angrily shouted for it to stop. He unleashed a forbidden sound spell, Profound Silence, to counter, declaring his hatred for those who pretend to be gods. He turned the leader's accusations back on him, questioning who the real Buddha and who the real demon was. He then unleashed Asura rage flames to tear through the leader's Vajra mantra shield. The leader, enraged, revealed his true Dharma form, Varakana, a massive golden deity. Nanziying scoffed, asking if this form was given to him by the aliens and pointing out the hypocrisy in being attached to forms when Buddhism preaches formlessness. The leader, Sakya, claimed to be the reincarnation of Tathagata, but Nanziying laughed, calling him a fragile Tathagata and comparing him to the yellow-browed demon from myths. Sakya, declaring Nanziying full of sin, attempted to cast him into Avasai hell. Nanziying retorted that he was already living in it and that he would show him what a real hell looked like. He activated his 5 elements hell formation, easily shattering Sakya's god-level formation. He told the false god that his formation was a joke and that it was now his turn. Nanziying used his Cloud Rider technique to launch into the air, unleashing a volley of forbidden spells. Asura's Molten Rock followed by Asura Frozen Ice. Sakya's shield barely held. Nanziying then bound him with the Golden Lock formation, causing Sakya to cry out in agony, begging the alien gods to save him. Suddenly, Sakya vanished. Nanziying wondered if it was an S-class alien, realizing he had no intel on them from his past life. A voice called out for help, and Nanziying turned to see a figure that looked exactly like his father, being held hostage by a strange, multi-eyed alien. The alien identified itself as an Alluriarch and told Nanziying to stop or it would kill his father, giving him a chance to surrender for the sake of his people. His father begged him to save him. Chu Tian, watching from afar, was shocked to see their benefactor's father. The protector fighting him, Anup, told everyone to stay focused on their own fights and trust Nanziying. The Alluriarch taunted Nanziying, threatening to kill his father if he didn't submit. Nanziying, the calm but intense red glow in his eyes, asked his father if he really wanted him to kneel to save him. The figure desperately confirmed it, asking if his son would just watch him die. Chu Tian offered to try a risky teleport, but Nanziying told her to stay back and protect the others, stating he would save his father himself. He asked her to teleport him as close as possible. The Alluriarch warned him not to try any tricks. As he was teleported, Nanziying sarcastically asked what tricks he could possibly pull, other than saving his dear father. When the Alluriarch asked why, Nanziying declared it was because it had seriously underestimated his old man, before demanding the S-rank alien show its true form. The alien, now revealed in its true skeletal form with a multi-eyed helmet, wondered how Nanziying was so indifferent when humans valued family above all, questioning if there was a flaw in its acting. Nanziying stated that a species without emotions could never understand what it means to be human, and that he'd rather the Buddhas had joined them instead of the alien. The alien offered him one last chance to join them. Nanziying cut it off, shouting for it to die already and unleashing a powerful lava slash. The alien blocked the attack, noting that Nanziying's power was all illusions and his actual attacks were weak. It mocked that the million Buddhas were fooled by appearances, but its obsession was to wipe them all out. It tried to provoke him again, stating that while the previous hostage was fake, this time it was real. Nanziying was suddenly flooded with genuine memories of his father, his return from a war, naming him and teaching him to fight back against bullies. He recalled his father, wounded but proud, explaining the brutality of the battlefield and his unwavering sense of duty. The alien confirmed it had pulled these memories from his father's mind, explaining that it had saved him on the defense lines, and now it was his turn to repay the favor by becoming a hostage. A message from the command line confirmed that Nanxinghan, his father, was indeed missing in action. The alien gloated that it had completely merged with his father's blood, claiming they were now one and the same, daring Nanziying to kill him, believing Nanziying was bound by emotion. The alien began to retreat using an Earth escape art. Nanziying stood frozen, wondering what he should do as his father's true consciousness briefly surfaced, begging his son to save him. The alien was shocked that the old man still had his own consciousness. Nanziying, enraged, screamed at the old man to stop messing with him and unleashed a forbidden spell, lava engulfing the fleeing form. The alien screamed in agony, questioning why Nanziying was doing this, as he had used the same words his father had. He couldn't comprehend how he knew this was the real one, utterly baffled by what humans even were. In his final moments, Nanziying's father told him he wouldn't understand, that this is precisely why humanity endures and that he'd be waiting to see his son again. With a tear in his eye, Nanzing apologized to his father and swore that day would come. After the battle, he told his fallen father to get some rest, promising to take him home for a good meal after cleaning up the mess. The team apologized for holding everyone back, but Nanzing's sister clarified it was a decision made by her brother and father together. She comforted a teammate who felt he'd made a fool of himself. Someone asked why Nanzing didn't just resurrect his father's spirit, and his sister explained it was for the same reason he didn't call back the others who died. He wants them to rest properly until the war is won. The team then moved to clear the remaining enemies who were now powerless and cowardly after their illusory Dharma bodies vanished. Guohui explained they were idiots blinded by illusions who forgot their power came from their own potential. Nanzing unleashed a hell on earth tornado to wipe them out. With only the two siblings' opponents left, the others offered to help, but Nanzing said they needed to grow on their own. The siblings worked together, using reverse parasitism and alloy thorn to defeat their enemy. As the last enemy fell, wondering why Buddha didn't save him, Suzayonen told him it's because Buddha only helps those who help themselves. She offered the fallen enemies a chance at liberation, to rise as undead and atone for their sins by serving at the 5th defense line. The next morning, the team gathered for breakfast. Nanzing asked the siblings to plant a tree near his father's spot so he could find him later. As they ate in silence, Guohui snapped Nanzing out of his daze, telling him to hurry and eat as they had work to do. Nanzing then dictated a new entry for the bestiary of aliens to Suling about the S-rank Aluriarch, detailing its illusion and possession abilities, and noting that if allies are possessed, they must be eliminated without hesitation. Just then, news arrived that another S-rank, the Sonic Bat King, had appeared on the front lines, causing heavy casualties. At the same time, a huge wave of rank aliens emerged from the Void Gate. Nanzing ordered Chu Tian to go with him to the 5th defense line for support, while everyone else was to take care of the A-rank aliens. At the 5th defense line, chaos reigned as soldiers were racked by an invisible sonic attack. The Necromancer squad was also affected, their bodies violently shaking. Nanzing and Chu Tian arrived to find the city under assault from the powerful sonic waves. Nanzing immediately cast a forbidden sound spell, Profound Silence, creating a massive 500-kilometer sound barrier that cost 100 trillion source stones. The attack stopped and the soldiers rallied. Nanzing flew up to confront the Sonic Bat King but found it incredibly fast, dodging even his lightning attacks. He then tried a forbidden light spell which managed to scatter the creature's darkness but didn't stop it. Realizing a single forbidden spell couldn't block its sonic blasts, he began stacking a sound nullification spell, rapidly increasing the overdrive from 10 to 1 million. He knew he couldn't get into a war of attrition, so he ordered Chu Tian to teleport both him and the Bat King away from the defense line. As they warped away, Nanzing was hit by another blast. Chu Tian shielded herself while Wang Zai was instructed to look after her. Nanzing, now in a remote location with the beast, prepared to counter its sonic attacks with his own sonic interference, ready to give it a taste of its own medicine. Nanzing unleashes a forbidden spell, a sound element sonic blast, which manifests as a pulsating wave of red energy. He notes that even if it's weak, it works, and that's all that matters as he channels a 100,000,000x overdrive, creating a massive purple ring of sonic energy that rushes through the sky. The blast slams into the massive purple wolf-like creature, causing it to reel back in pain. Nanzing observes that its eardrum has been damaged and his attack was effective. The enraged beast calls him a pathetic insect and screams for him to die, retaliating with its own purple energy blast. Nanzing counters with a soundwave convergence for focused targeting, unleashing another forbidden spell, a 100,000,000x overdrive of sonic waves. He cries out in pain as the blasts collide, forcing him to summon vines to form a shield around himself. A system notification shows his remaining source stones at 150 trillion. He realizes that even a 100 million stack of sound waves is just a drop in the bucket against the creature, and that his current source stones can only fuel 1.5 billion forbidden spells, a risk he can't take. He concludes he must find a way to win in one shot. But relying solely on forbidden spells for sound waves is too draining. An idea strikes him. What if he used forbidden spells to turn a normal voice into a soundwave attack? He activates a forbidden spell for sound element conversion and lets out a tremendous yell. The resulting energy wave is weak. He chuckles, acknowledging that his voice alone isn't much. But he then wonders what would happen if it were the voices of hundreds of millions from Solaria. He channels their power, and the combined shout shatters the creature's energy beam. Watching from the city below, a woman named Nanzing asks if they are going to lose. An official reports that the soundproof barrier will only hold for another 10 seconds and that Nanzing has ordered the entire city to shout in unison. The woman understands. An announcement goes out across the city declaring that Cathay is on the brink and ordering everyone to shout with him. From screens, hospitals, and the streets, the citizens of Cathay all chant in unison that Cathay will prevail. As the collective shout echoes, the massive wolf creature lets out a roar of its own. Nanzing activates a forbidden spell for sound element absorption, drawing in the power of the unified shout. The sound forms into a massive, shimmering red dragon of pure energy. He unleashes a soundwave targeting attack, which shatters the beast's defenses before launching the dragon forward. The words Cathay will prevail manifest in fiery letters as the energy dragon slams into the creature. Nanzing declares that the beast will hear the dragon's roar from Cathay and must repent for its arrogance towards humanity. The dragon roars and tears through the creature, destroying it completely. Back in the city, Nan Ziying tells his subordinate that he needs to get back to the Void Gate to stop more of the Sonic Bat King's army from teleporting through, instructing them to let him know immediately if another S-rank alien appears. Chu Tian, looking weak, collapses into his arms, asking if he's okay. He asks her if she can teleport him back to the cozy cabin. She agrees, but then her eyes roll back and she faints. He calls her name in alarm, realizing he needs to get her back for medical treatment before anything else. Meanwhile, outside the Void Gate, Chu Xinghe uses his domain annihilation ability to wipe out the remaining alien forces. He complains that none of them were high quality enough to make into soup. He reflects that he's learned his lesson from his last encounter and is no longer the same chump, unleashing a thorn maelstrom hell to strangle the last of the aliens. With the battle over, his team catches their breath. One man complains that he's hungry again. Another wonders how Nan Ziying is doing on the other side. And a companion agrees that no news is good news. Suleng notices that the Void Gate hasn't sent more A-rank aliens, wondering if there's a pattern. His friend exclaims that he's onto something huge and puts Suleng in charge of recording every alien wave, tracking the time, type, and rank of each arrival. Suleng gives a Roger that just as a massive, dark, multi-eyed entity begins to emerge from the gate, he stares in horror, exclaiming in fear about what the hell that thing is. In the cozy cabin, the team rushes a wounded Chu Tian to a bed. One of them goes to get a new healing potion they developed. The woman administering the potion explains that it's mild and will take time for Chu Tian to come around. She adds that her internal injuries are severe, and even when she wakes up, she won't be able to use her powers for a while. Nan Ziying receives a communication that a new S-rank alien with unknown abilities has appeared at the Void Gate. He declares he's on his way, but the communicator, a blonde woman, relays a message from Chu Xinghe. He wants Nan Ziying to trust that they can handle things on their own, as they don't deserve to be on his team if they can't. Furthermore, she tells him he has a more critical mission. They've just received word that America has fallen. Rebel army of 1,000,000 Spurs is advancing with the S-rank Rift Reaver towards the 5th defense line with an estimated arrival time of 5 hours. Nan Ziying reflects that his stash of Source Stones is depleted after the battle with the Sonic Bat King. Without them, his forbidden spells, formations, and other abilities won't work, leaving him with only Asura mode, which isn't enough. There are hardly any Source Stones left in Solaria and without spatial teleportation. He doesn't think he can gather more from outside their borders in time. The other woman reveals she also developed a drug that can give a massive short-term power boost, but her colleague interjects that it's too dangerous. The drug burns through life energy and would cause irreversible damage to Chu Tian in her current condition. Nan Ziying agrees they can't do that to a 9-year-old kid and resolves to summon a falcon and fly, playing it by ear. As the woman apologizes and says she'll think of something else, Chu Tian suddenly sits up and tells her to give the drug to her. Nan Ziying is surprised to see her awake and tells her she needs to rest, trying to convince her that what she heard was a dream. But Chu Tian calls him a terrible liar, stating she's not some little kid he can fool. He orders her not to be reckless, but she retorts that he should remember she was reckless enough to pretend she couldn't speak and to follow him in the first place. She defiantly states she's just a reckless little kid and questions how she could suddenly stop being so, reminding him that he knows better than anyone that this is war. With a scream of effort, she swallows the power-boosting drug. Nan Ziying calls her name in alarm, but she tells him to come on. Feeling herself overflowing with energy like never before, she declares it would be a waste not to use all this power and that they should go. Nan Ziying asks if she is sure, and she confirms it, boasting she could even teleport him off Earth right now. He then asks the other woman if she has any more of that drug for him too. The team prepares, with one woman saying she'll grab some more of the drug, while another advises them to at least take extra healing potions to counteract the side effects. As they are about to leave, she offers them some porridge she just cooled down. Nan Ziying thanks her, but she says there's no need. At the same time, at the Void Gate, the team faces the new S-rank threat. One of them states that since Nan Ziying isn't here, they have to defeat it themselves. Su Chang says it's no problem. He'll use his puppets to scout it out, as it has only been expanding since it appeared. He unleashes his wraith puppet strings, commanding his creations to rise and attack. The puppets are immediately dissolved by the creature's corrosive body. Su Chang is shocked that the thing is corrosive and can even affect his strings. A teammate warns him to cut the strings, but he zones out for a moment before snapping out of it. Another ally observes that since it's corrosive, their priority must be to stop it from spreading. He tells Old Pickle Jar to try using his water abilities. The man Lan Changkong bristles at the nickname but is told it's urgent and they'll deal with it later. Lan Changkong traps the creature in a boundless ocean water cube, sealing it. The creature's corrosive nature begins to eat through the water prison. The team watches as the cube bubbles and dissolves from within. The Timber siblings, 2 plant users, create a buttress root shield to reinforce the prison, thickening it from 10 to 50 to 100 meters. The brother warns that it won't last more than a few seconds, but the sister urges him to keep it up, thicken it, and repair it. Chu Xinghe notes that Lan Changkong's water cube has contained the spread, so now they just need to find its weakness. He suggests fire, but one of the Timber siblings points out that none of them are fire users. His sister suggests they can create flammable plants if they just have a spark to ignite them. Chu Xinghe declares his sword Kai can create sparks and tells them to coordinate. The Timber siblings create a wave of flammable plants inside the water cube while Chu Xinghe prepares to strike. He unleashes a sword Kai collision, and the plants ignite. However, the fiery explosion causes the creature to split up into smaller, regenerating pieces. One of the pieces strikes Choosing, sending him flying. His allies cry out in concern, but he gets back up, declaring he's fine. The Timber siblings report that their shield is being corroded faster than they can repair it. Lan Chankong is asked if he can control the black rain, but he explains he can't as they are split entities, not water, though he can still control the water that has already been corroded. Someone notes that fire attacks can detonate the main body and slow its regeneration, but it only works for ranged attacks. The plan is to get through the corrosion, find its core, and ignite it. Another suggests using the space bubbles Chu Tian left for Nan Zishan. Nan Zishan admits she has no idea if the bubbles can get them through safely, but Choosing states it's a long shot they have to take. She activates a space bubble and Choosing enters it. He confirms the space bubble is holding as it passes through the corrosive liquid. Inside, he finds Nan Zishan, who tells him he's hurt and that she should heal him first. He says there's no time as the main shield is about to give and tells her to try her holy light against the corrosion. She creates a holy light shield which seems to hold it off, but not for long. She states that at her current power, she can only cast a wide-range holy light twice at most. Choosing says holding for a moment is enough. His plan is for her to first expand the holy light barrier to protect everyone, taking over for the Timber siblings. She agrees and expands her holy light shield. Next, Choosing will go up and slice it open with his sword Kai to find the core. He instructs the Timber siblings, Qin Ying and Qin Sui, to make flammable, high-explosive blast seeds, and for Su Chang to use his huge puppets to deliver them into the core. Everyone understands. Choosing tells Nan Zishan to just match his sword Kai when he makes his move. He readies his myriad blade domain and she prepares a holy light infusion. He unleashes his attack, a storm of golden sword energy that slices through the creature's main body, revealing a glowing red core inside. He announces that he's found the core, but the effort causes him to stumble. Nan Zishan cries out his name, but he assures her he's just exhausted and tells her not to worry. He yells for Su Chang to hurry before it heals. Su Chang responds in the affirmative. He summons his puppets, telling them to rise. He orders the Timber siblings to deploy the blast seeds, and they confirm, embedding Bodhi blast seeds into the puppets' hands. The puppets charge forward, shoving the explosive seeds into the creature's exposed core just before it closes up. The seeds are in. Choosing is told to detonate them. He activates his domain field, causing a sword Kai collision that creates sparks, igniting the seeds in a massive explosion that consumes the creature from within. Lan Chankong yells for everyone to get into Nan Zishan's space bubble as the whole water cube is going to blow. Inside the bubble, they escape the blast. Su Chang wrinkles his nose and asks how long it's been since anyone showered. Lan Chankong is offended, stating his family has a strict upbringing and they always value cleanliness. Su Chang sniffs at him, asking what he means by that. Lan Chankong retorts that he just looks like an old pickle jar but doesn't smell like one, questioning why Su Chang is looking at him when he's a waterbending prodigy from the East Sea. One of the Timber siblings, the girl, timidly says it might be her. She explains that her brother told her the earth is the most precious thing, so she couldn't bring herself to wash the dirt off. Her brother sighs, telling his silly sister she didn't have to go that far. The group bursts into laughter. Choosing points out that since they're out of danger, they don't need to be crammed in the bubble talking. Nan Zishan agrees and they spread out. A woman with black hair sniffs the air and says there's definitely an earthy fragrance. But it's not the smell she caught earlier. The Timber girl realizes she doesn't need to take a bath after all, but her brother tells her that's not what they meant. Su Chang gets in Lan Chankong's face, telling him to take a whiff of his natural ghost-praising scent, but Lan Chankong tells him not so close as he's a little shy. The black-haired woman confirms it's not either of them. She concludes that when you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. The wounded man approaches her, asking if she still has the strength to heal him. She asks if it hurts and he sarcastically says it doesn't, but another man yells that of course it hurts like hell and he'll die if he doesn't get treatment. The black-haired woman tells the loud man that nobody will think he's mute if he just keeps quiet. He replies that for his brother's happiness, he's willing to be a silent lapdog. Su Chang announces that everyone else should go rest while he takes the watch. Lan Chankong says that even though he can't stand him, he's still got some fight left and will keep him company. Su Chang calls him a loyal old pickle jar, unlike some people who ditch their friends for a pretty face. Meanwhile, in Antarctica, Nan Ziying stands with Chu Tian over a desolate, icy landscape filled with penguins. She remarks that this is her first time seeing real penguins like this. He promises her that after they win the war, he'll summon back all their spirits to be her friends. She asks if he can do that, and he confidently says of course, both winning and summoning the penguins. He points to a massive crystal formation, explaining that it's the last source stone mine on Earth. He believes this batch should be enough to last until the war is won. He absorbs the energy from the mine, remaining source stones jumping to 100 quintillion. He then calls out to the great Antarctica, summoning the legendary warriors of ages past to awaken from their frozen slumber. Green spirits of ancient warriors rise from the ice. He commands them to go reinforce Cathay's 5th defense line and fight once more for humanity and planet Earth. As the spirits fly off, Chu Tian asks him why, after summoning spirits of fallen warriors from every lost nation. He's never summoned the heroic spirits of Solaria's own fallen. He explains it's because of a selfish wish he has for Cathay. That one day after the war, the human world will be free of internal conflict, power plays, and racial wars, so ordinary people can live and work in peace. Chu Tian calls him an idealist, noting his ideal is difficult but beautiful. She says she really wants to see that day when she'll have so many penguin friends. He assures her that she will. He then announces it's time to pay a visit to Rift Reaver and teleports them away. They arrive in a desolate, rocky area where Rift Reaver, a large scorpion-like alien, and his army of espers are waiting. Rift Reaver comments that they've picked a fine spot ideal for a burial. He identifies Nan Ziying and introduces himself as a humble creature who has long admired his reputation. Nan Ziying remarks with surprise that Rift Reaver's grasp of their tongue is the clearest and most polite he's heard from an alien, unlike others who just scream about bugs. He notes that even the Alluriarch wasn't as articulate, which explains how he could ensnare millions of Buddhists with his illusions. However, he couldn't quite figure out Rift Reaver's deal until now. Rift Reaver tells him to be a good boy and surrender quietly, as resistance is pointless. At that moment, a man in a star-spangled uniform steps forward, identifying himself as Captain John America. He declares that for the future of Earth, America has made the optimal decision for all humankind, as only the glorious United States can lead Earth to a new age of splendor. The surrounding espers chant "Long Live America." Nan Ziying finds this disgusting, scoffing at the defectors for being such drama queens and saying they'd clean up at the Oscars. Rift Reaver is annoyed that he's still laughing instead of surrendering and threatens to smash his face. He tells John to fight if he wishes to, as he needs to see his worth in this battle. If he fails, it proves they have none. John accepts the order and charges, yelling for Nan Ziying to die. Nan Ziying dismisses him as an old god class, hardly a warm-up, and tells them all to come at him together. John summons the Hammer of Thor. Nan Ziying is unimpressed, questioning how he dares call himself Thor with such a pathetic trickle of energy. John screams at him to cut the crap and unleashes the Dragon of Thor, a serpent made of blue lightning. Nan Ziying asks if he's ever seen a Cathay dragon, declaring he shall enlighten him today. He uses a forbidden spell to amplify the lightning element, creating a massive golden Cathay dragon of lightning that dwarfs John's. The golden dragon easily devours the blue one. John cries out, asking how this is possible, and summons a lightning aegis to defend himself. But the golden dragon's power is too immense. It shatters his defense, and he screams in agony as he is disintegrated, crying out that it's impossible and he is the greatest. Chu Tian comments on his obsession with greatness, presuming the B on his helmet stood for big shot, and dryly notes that in Cathay a certain B word isn't exactly a term of endearment. She tells the remaining espers their captain has proven his worthlessness by dying and asks what they will do now. She declares that when it comes to worthless trash, she doesn't mind taking it out personally. A new leader, Vice Captain Johnny America, rallies the great soldiers of America to charge and avenge their captain. They unleash a combined forbidden earth element spell. Nan Ziying smirks, remarking that they really won't give up until they are 6 feet under. He finds their fighting spirit commendable, as they'll all be his soldiers soon enough. He decides they will be the first to experience his newest technique, amplifying a forbidden razor gale wind spell and a sonic wave spell simultaneously. He unleashes Skyquake, 8 desolate howls, a torrent of sonic wind that rips through the American espers. The vice captain manages to defend himself with an iron clay bastion, encasing himself in rock. Nan Ziying comments on the nice tomb he's dug for himself, but says burying himself alive is a bit harsh and offers to help him find his eternal rest. He manifests an earth dragon and uses focused soundwave convergence to shatter the bastion. The vice captain screams in horror, questioning how Nan Ziying can possibly master everything as he is torn apart. Nan Ziying simply states that if they want to be great again, it's simple enough. He performs an undead summoning, raising the spirits of the fallen espers. He commands them to rise, fight for Earth and for Cathay, sending them to reinforce the 5th defense line. Rift Reaver speaks, acknowledging Nan Ziying as a being of immense value and regretting that he knows Nan Ziying would choose death before submission, making a grand battle between them inevitable. Nan Ziying calls Rift Reaver the most astute and cunning alien he's ever met, even more so than the Alluriarch, and finds himself almost admiring him. But he declares an enemy is an enemy and unleashes a hell on earth slash. Rift Reaver counters the attack and proposes a wager, a battle of wits. If he wins, Nan Ziying will serve him. Nan Ziying finds the stakes interesting but counters that if Rift Reaver wins, he dies. If Nan Ziying wins, he shall serve him. Rift Reaver agrees that if he wins, Nan Ziying's service will depend entirely on his demonstrated worth. Nan Ziying accepts the terms. Rift Reaver attacks with a reverse cyclone, but Nan Ziying counters with a 50-fold amplified glacial formation. The fire and ice attacks clash violently. Rift Reaver states that the little formation won't be enough to hold him back and summons a shower of celestial fire meteors. Nan Ziying decides he has no choice but to use his ultimate move, one he's never unleashed before, a forbidden spell overdrive. He unleashes Stellar Genesis, creating countless fireballs that halt Rift Reaver's meteors. He then performs a cosmic shift, teleporting the entire fiery battlefield far away from Earth back into the cosmos. Rift Reaver is stunned, asking if he can manipulate stars. He realizes Nan Ziying never used this before to protect Earth. Nan Ziying declares that Rift Reaver's cyclones, projectiles, and fire meteors are now useless and tells him to bring on any other tricks he has. He unleashes his Asura, Dragon Slayer technique. Rift Reaver says that if he had a choice, he really wouldn't want to fight him. Nan Ziying retorts that Rift Reaver isn't planning to kneel and surrender, so he should save that kind of talk for after the fight. He uses his forbidden spell Overdrive to summon a massive magma dragon. He orders it to charge. The two powerful beings clash, and Nan Ziying observes that their power is matched with no clear winner. He decides to add his Asura Inferno Slash to the attack, but Rift Reaver suddenly tells him not to even think about it, dodging and creating an earthquake. Nan Ziying notices that its reaction was too focused on protecting its back. He also notes that its tail, which usually moves above its back, is now tangled up by his magma dragon. Putting it all together, he deduces its fatal weak spot must be on its back, now that he's found its weakness. He says this will be easy. He unleashes another overdrive, this time an earth element myriad earth convergence, followed by a lightning element myriad lightning tribulations. The creature cries out for him to stop, surrendering and swearing to serve him for life. Nan Ziying questions how he can trust an alien, especially one as intelligent as Rift Reaver, and asks how he will prove his worth and loyalty. The lightning hovers threateningly as the attack stops just short of impact. Rift Reaver acknowledges his concerns and proposes a way to prove his sincerity, but asks him to first recall his magma dragon as he needs to use his tail. He swears it's not a trick. Nan Ziying agrees, saying it's hardly a wager and wouldn't matter even if it were a trick, as Rift Reaver wouldn't win a rematch anyway. He dispels the dragon, thanking Rift Reaver for his composure and wisdom. Rift Reaver turns, revealing a large green egg-like sac on his back, stating that this is his ultimate vulnerability. Nan Ziying asks what it is, and Rift Reaver explains it's his offspring, the last seeds for the continuation of his Sky Scorpion clan civilization. To express his loyalty, he is willing to entrust them to Nan Ziying's care. Nan Ziying is skeptical, questioning how he knows they are offspring and not some kind of weapon, or a plot to get him to hatch an even bigger invasion. To prove it, Rift Reaver states he hasn't activated his carapace defense, allowing Nan Ziying to strike him down. He asks if Nan Ziying can trust him now. Nan Ziying says he can trust him halfway, but needs to know why he is doing this. Rift Reaver explains that his race and humans are the same, both invaded, both facing destruction. At his core, he is a resistor, just like Nan Ziying. And seeing him is like seeing his former self. Nan Ziying scoffs, calling it a new one, an invader claiming to be a resistor. He asks if there's any low Rift Reaver won't stoop to just to survive. Rift Reaver explains that Nan Ziying finds it hard to believe because he is unaware of the truth behind the 10,000 races invasion. This is all merely a game orchestrated by a higher civilization known as the Celestials. The so-called 10,000 races are just slave participants, driven from their own planets by the Celestials, and Earth is simply the arena chosen for this game. The war humanity faces is merely a clearing of the grounds before the true duels of the 10,000 races begin. He asks if Nan Ziying now understands why many non-sapient alien races call humans bugs. In their eyes, humans aren't even qualified to participate. They are just ants to be swept away before the duels. Nan Ziying stood before the massive, defeated scorpion alien, confirming that its previous statement was correct. He demanded that the creature tell him about its race and the invasion of its planet by the so-called Celestials. The alien began its story, explaining that its people, the Sky Scorpions, originally lived on and ruled planet N68. After tens of millions of years of evolution, civil wars, and external conflicts, they had finally achieved a civilization of peace and tolerance. That peace was shattered when a Celestial descended, commanding them to participate in its tournament of 10,000 races. When they refused, their warriors launched a massive assault against the entity. They paid a heavy price for their arrogance, as the Celestials' power was on a completely different scale than their own. The alien recounted with sorrow how its comrades and kin all died, one after another, as the Celestials seemingly commanded all cosmic elements at will. The entire war lasted less than half an Earth hour, and they were utterly defeated. The last remnants of its race tragically refused to yield and were completely annihilated, having preferred death to a life of slavery. The alien admitted that only it could be considered a traitor to the Scorpion clan, as it couldn't bear to see its civilization wiped out due to blind defiance. As the sole survivor, it was transported to Earth and forced into the hunting game. Nan Ziying processed this, musing that an entire race had been wiped out in under half an hour. He then asked the alien why it chose to bet everything on him. The creature Reaver revealed it was because it sensed an aura in Nan Ziying that was similar to that of the Celestials. Nan Ziying was shocked, questioning how that was possible. Reaver explained that although the aura was faint, its essence was the same, especially evident in Nan Ziying's unmistakable control over the elements during their battle. This gave Nan Ziying pause, as he reflected on the peculiar success of his abilities in his past life and his subsequent rebirth, wondering if it was all connected to these Celestials and their ultimate goal. Reaver added that it also sensed something in him that resonated with its own civilization's history, which is why it chose to gamble on submission rather than certain death. Finding the explanation sensible, Nan Ziying asked what value Reaver could bring him. Reaver stated that it could crush any alien below S rank and fight evenly with other S ranks, and more importantly, it knew the teleportation mechanics of the Void Gate and how to destroy it. Nan Ziying accepted the alliance with one condition: Reaver must obey his every command until the war was won. In return, he promised to allow it to return to its planet and rebuild its civilization. Reaver bowed its massive head in deep gratitude, addressing him as Your Excellency. At that moment, Chu Tian called out that it was time to return. As he and another companion approached, Chu Tian was stunned to see the alien still alive and in a submissive pose. Nan Ziying calmly introduced the creature as Reaver, a new member of their squad, suggesting they teleport back to the battlefield first while he explained on the way. Reaver initiated a spatial teleportation, enveloping them in purple energy. However, Chutian quickly realized it wouldn't work, shouting that Reaver was too large to be teleported in one go. Reaver apologized, explaining that it could shrink or even take on a humanoid form, but it would lose its combat abilities while transformed. Nan Ziying impatiently told it to stop chattering and change form immediately, since they didn't need it to fight at that moment. Reaver's massive form was consumed by purple energy as it began to transform. It morphed into a muscular female humanoid figure, asking if this form was acceptable. The sight was deeply unsettling. Chutian gritted his teeth, saying he suddenly had the urge to beat someone up, while Nan Ziying admitted his own fists were clenched for some reason. Nan Ziying instructed Reaver to change again, this time into a male human form that fit Earth's aesthetics. Reaver, accepting it had much to learn, morphed into a bulky, muscular man, but with its scorpion tail bizarrely attached to its front. Nan Ziying exploded with frustration, asking if it had some massive misunderstanding of human aesthetics. After a localization patch was seemingly applied, Reaver's form settled into a more conventional muscular humanoid shape. One of their female companions handed Reaver a cloth to wrap around its waist, telling it not to be a total embarrassment. The group teleported back to the Void Gate battlefield where their allies were standing guard. One noted that the alien teleport seemed to follow a pattern just as Choosing had predicted. The guards challenged the newcomers, surprised by Reaver's inhuman appearance. Nan Ziying introduced Reaver as their new S-rank comrade, shocking the guards. He relayed what Reaver had told them. The gate primarily teleports A-rank and lower aliens en masse at sunrise, with small numbers of S-ranks only appearing at high noon, meaning there was no need to stand guard at night. He then asked Reaver to explain how to close the gate. Reaver described that inside the gate, each race has its own passage, transit space, and teleportation hub. To stop them, a team must enter the passage, eliminate the aliens within, and destroy the hub itself. Nan Ziying questioned if a destroyed hub could be rebuilt. Reaver explained that while physically possible, the rules of the game forbid it. Once a hub is destroyed, it is game over for that race, at which point the Celestials would perform a cleanup. The team returned to their base, the cozy cabin, to rest and strategize. They sat down for a massive feast, and one of the women warmly welcomed Reaver, telling it to consider the place home and not to hesitate. Taking her words at face value, Reaver declared that it should not hesitate and would consider this its home. It then proceeded to inhale the entire table of food in a single, voracious blur, leaving everyone stunned. After finishing, Reaver politely asked if it had been too polite and if it could have another dish. His companions burst into laughter, explaining that the invitation was just a courtesy and that Reaver had much to learn about the profound culture of Huaxia. Confused, Reaver wondered if being too polite was a punishable offense in their culture. They decided to have a barbecue, with everyone using their unique abilities to rapidly plant, harvest, and prepare the food. As Reaver prepared to eat again, Nan Ziying stopped it, telling it to wait until everyone else had eaten and that it could eat its fill on the battlefield the next day. During their planning meeting, it was decided that Reaver would be responsible for eliminating the aliens emerging from the gate. Nan Ziying stated he would handle any other S-ranks that appeared, using the corpses on the battlefield to fuel his techniques. Several others volunteered to join the fight on the battlefield to hone their skills. Nan Ziying finalized the plan. Su Chang's group would guard the outside, while he led a team consisting of Chu Tian, Choosing, Tan, and the Mutu brothers into the Void Gate. The next day, as the Void Gate opened, Nan Ziying ordered everyone to their positions. Chu Tian created a spatial link and teleported the infiltration team inside. They emerged into a disorienting, otherworldly space. Nan Ziying instructed them to maintain their sanity and harmonize their breathing. He observed that the passages were organized by color, with darker hues signifying higher-ranked races deeper within the dimension. He decided they would start with a low-ranked race's passage to assess the situation. They entered a desolate, rocky canyon filled with insectoid aliens who were discussing the imminent arrival of their main forces. As Nan Ziying's team appeared, the aliens shrieked that ants were invading and charged forward to kill them. Nan Ziying calmly unleashed a forbidden spell, Overlap Wind Blades. A swirling golden vortex of energy erupted, instantly shredding the aliens and their surroundings. A system-like message declared Jin Shiking game over. As the entire hub was obliterated in one strike, his team was in awe, but Nan Ziying noticed something was wrong. The powerful spell hadn't consumed his source stones. He looked at his hand and saw a glowing red vein-like mark had appeared. He realized this must be the price for using abilities inside the gate without a cost, and he wondered what the final consequence would be. Choosing asked if he was all right, but Nan Ziying brushed it off, urging them onward. He assigned each of them a gate to enter, telling them he would handle the S-rank threats. He approached a dark yellow passage, recognizing the unique patterns of S-rank races they had previously encountered on the battlefield. Deciding to eliminate these familiar foes first, he stepped into a shimmering golden portal alone. Inside, he was immediately met with a powerful psychic assault from the resident race. As they bombarded him with mental attacks and seductive illusions of beautiful women, he created a full-power mental defense. He feigned succumbing to their temptations before roaring in fury, cursing their ancestors for underestimating the human race with such lowly tricks. The psychic aliens were shocked that their attack had failed. Nan Ziying shattered their thought link and unleashed hell on Earth, a devastating torrent of red energy that annihilated them. After vanquishing them, he moved on to the next hub, defeating the Sonic Bat King race with a rebounding dragon's roar. Following the battle, the red mark on his hand intensified. He concluded that the curse was indeed the price for using his powerful spells inside the gate, deciding to ignore the growing threat and focus on winning the war first. While the others were successfully clearing their own assigned hubs, Chu Tian found himself ambushed by a massive demonic red dragon that paralyzed him with its terrifying presence. The dragon lunged, but just before it could devour him, Nan Ziying appeared and trapped it in a desolate thunder prison. A cage of crackling blue lightning. The Qin brothers arrived and pulled the shaken Chu Tian to safety. The dragon, however, demonstrated an ability to freeze time and space, shattering the thunder prison and escaping towards the outside world. Nan Ziying immediately sent a warning to Su Chang's team at the fort's gate. Outside, Reaver was effortlessly incinerating waves of aliens with celestial fire meteors when the S-rank sky dragon burst through the gate. Receiving Nan Ziying's warning, Su Chang prepared for the dragon's special ability. The dragon unleashed its breath, and Reaver was frozen solid mid-attack. Calling Reaver a traitor, the dragon moved in for the kill, but Su Chang had already ensnared it with his celestial puppet threads. As the healers rushed to their now-frozen comrade, Chen Care analyzed the dragon's power, noting its 10-second time freeze ability prevented it from using any other attacks simultaneously. Su Ling activated her Eye of Prediction and used sense-sharing to project the dragon's future movements into the minds of her allies, urging them to act fast as she could only maintain the link for 10 seconds. Reaver, now free, was ordered to provide cover. He launched another volley of fire meteors, baiting the dragon into using its freezing breath again. Seizing the opening, Su Chang cast Celestial Net, commanding it to tear the dragon apart. As the net of energy sliced into the beast, Su Chang spotted its weakness, a reverse scale on its forehead that granted it regenerative powers. Predicting its movements, he dodged a final attack and snatched the glowing red scale from its head, causing the great dragon to crumble into dust. The battle won, Su Ling and Chen Care collapsed from exhaustion, but were proud that they were no longer a burden to the team. This led to a playful argument between Su Chang and Su Ling, which Reaver watched wistfully, reminded of his own lost youth. The group proceeded to the final B-rank axis, where the Mutu brothers debuted a new combination technique, using summon roots and a seismic collapse to destroy the hub. They all felt their power was greater inside the gate due to the denser spiritual energy. While others rested, they developed new techniques, like Tan using a freezing agent to create ice thorns and Lan Changqiang using a mirage domain to bypass guards and strike his target directly. With all other hubs cleared, Nan Ziying received the reports. He instructed the others to rest and prepare to assault the final S-rank axis belonging to the winged sky dragon race. He would go in first to scout, telling them not to follow unless he gave the signal. Nan Ziying surveys the massive swarm of blue, jellyfish-like creatures, questioning if they are truly a single entity since not a single one has teleported on its own. A massive dragon-like tendril lashes out from the swarm with incredible speed, and he wonders if it is a non-sentient being as it makes no sound. He counters by summoning a demonic red aura and a glowing blade, unleashing his Asura Dragon Slayer technique and slicing through the creature. The attack connects, but Nan Ziying cries out in pain as blue energy corrodes his arm. He realizes the creature possesses corrosive toxins in addition to lightning, making it a difficult foe. He yells for Chu Tian to release a spatial bubble, and Chu Tian immediately creates one. Another warrior observes the swarm instantly healing from the sword wound, concluding that blades are useless. Deciding he has no other choice, Nan Ziying declares he will use formations and forbidden spells, slamming his bloody hand to the ground to cast a frigid ice formation. A colossal wave of ice erupts from the ground, but it proves ineffective and shatters against the swarm. Undeterred, Nan Ziying summons a massive roaring dragon made of pure fire using the forbidden spell Raging Flame Dragon. The fire attack backfires, only serving to increase the toxicity of the poison fog emanating from the creatures, which begins to disintegrate Chu Tian's spatial bubble. Nan Ziying yells for Chu Tian to reinforce it, and as Chu Tian struggles to comply, Nan Ziying unleashes another forbidden spell, a directed soundwave. The creature simply absorbed the soundwave attack as well. Worried that Chu Tian's defenses won't last much longer, Nan Ziying resolves to quickly figure out their pattern and end the battle. He gathers immense power, preparing to cast the forbidden spell, 3,000 lightning tribulations, to turn their own magic against them. The jellyfish monster absorbs all the lightning, growing even larger and stronger. Nan Ziying's attempt to detonate the energy from within fails. At the same time, Chu Tian cries out that the poison is too strong and he can no longer hold on, while Nan Ziying feels the backlash in his own arm worsening. Realizing a direct push is futile, Nan Ziying decides to try a reverse pull, casting the forbidden spell for lightning element extraction. A vortex of green energy surrounds him as he forcefully rips the lightning magic out of the creature. He compresses the stolen lightning into a blindingly bright golden orb and shouts for Chu Tian to coordinate a teleportation, intending to send the immense unstable energy to the opposite gate rather than let it be wasted. On the other side of a portal, a great red dragon laughs, proclaiming its arrival and its intent to become king of this universe, only to be cut short by the sudden appearance of the golden energy orb. The dragon pauses in confusion, wondering what these ants are. The orb detonates in a massive explosion. Back on the battlefield, Chu Tian collapses, whispering that he can't hold on any longer. Nan Ziying calls his name, alarmed to see that the poison remains even after the lightning has been dealt with. Nan Ziying casts a protective cyclone around himself, reasoning that if a reverse lightning spell worked, a reverse water spell should be equally effective. He prepares to cast water element extraction. He unleashes the forbidden spell, pulling the blue, watery essence from the creatures and compressing it into a small orb in his hand. He sends the water orb through the opposite gate before preparing yet another forbidden spell, this time calling upon the earth element. Nanziing unleashes a great earthen burial, causing massive stone pillars to crush the last remnants of the creatures. He groans, feeling his energy depleting as the curse markings on his arm spread and the burning sensation intensifies. With night approaching and Chutian still unconscious, he gently administers a healing medicine, telling him they'll go home. Chutian awakens, asking weakly if they won. Nanziing confirms their victory and sends a voice transmission for everyone to return to the cabin. His comrades celebrate the end of their shift and the destruction of the Sky Dragon Wings lair. A man named Rift Reaver jokes about asking for overtime pay, earning a laugh from his companion. A woman named Zion is told to prepare medical supplies, and she scolds the team for getting so injured on their first day. Later, at a large feast, Nanziing encourages everyone to eat to help their recovery. He then tells Rift Reaver that he isn't included, as he was only invited to the table for the festive atmosphere and his real meal is waiting outside. During the meal, Su Chang boasts about his kills, only to be mocked for his injured state. Nanziing reports their overall success, noting that most lower-rank alien races have been eliminated and that the main battlefield is shrinking. He tells them not to feel pressured and that he will share something important after they finish eating. Later in the clinic, a shirtless Nanziing shows intricate black markings on his torso and arm to a woman in a lab coat, asking her to examine them secretly. She confirms they are a curse from using forbidden spells, and he explains that they only cause a burning pain when they appear. They decide a sample is needed for analysis. When the rest of the group arrives, a healer named Zishin is asked to use her holy light. Her initial purification spell has no effect, so she tries enhanced healing instead. The curse markings react violently to the healing, erupting with dark energy that lashes out and strikes Zishin, causing her to cough up blood. Nanziing realizes the curse is a living entity capable of attacking. The lab coat woman is stunned, reporting that analysis of the skin tissue shows no abnormalities besides the pigmentation. Nanziing finds this impossible as he was just attacked by it. They decide to run more tests, starting with a carving removal ointment which proves useless, with gentle methods having failed. Zionan brings out a corrosive poison extracted from alien races, warning that the process will be excruciatingly painful. Nanziing scoffs at the need for an anesthetic and tells them to proceed. The poison is applied and he grunts in pain. The poison corrodes his flesh, but the curse carving remains untouched, visible even on the blood and bone beneath. Realizing that removing the curse would mean removing his entire arm, Nanziing decides to leave it for now. His sister steps forward to heal the corroded wound. As she applies her healing magic, Nanziing's flesh regenerates instantly, and to his astonishment, the curse carving regenerates with it. He theorizes that it might not be a curse but a new ability, one that enhances his regeneration the more he uses forbidden spells. Declaring it a false alarm, he dismisses everyone. Elsewhere, a wooden hut is magically grown from the earth for Rift Reaver, who is touched by the gesture of interspecies friendship. Inside, he is further moved when a projector, a gift from Chu Tian, fills the room with images and he breaks down in tears of gratitude. Chu Xinghe gives his sister Tiana a set of rings he crafted. She teases him about one being for Nan Zishin before using her spatial injection ability to turn them into storage rings, making it easier for the team to carry supplies. Chu Xinghe then joins another man examining 3 reverse scales from the winged sky dragon. They wonder if the scales can be forged into a new blade for Nanziing, whose previous one broke. They test the material's hardness by striking it with a sword aura, finding it exceptionally durable and imbued with the dragon's slowing ability. After successfully forging a new weapon, they name it the reverse scale blade and plan to surprise Nanziing with it in the morning. That night, Nanziing has a troubling dream where a tree-like being of light tells him that its past is his present and its present is his future, urging him to become it and set it free. Nanziing screams at the dream figure to tell him the truth before waking with a gasp. He dismisses his companion's concern, calling it just a nightmare, but privately wishes it were all a dream. The next day, the team stands before 3 gates. Nanziing orders Rift Reaver to stand guard while the rest prepare to enter. He divides them into teams, sending one group through a green gate suspected to house virus-type enemies and another through a yellow gate that seems to require hive mind-like cooperation. He declares that he and Chu Tian will enter the final, dark red gate. Inside a corroded tunnel, Nanziing decides to test his new sword. He unleashes a devastating combination of the reverse scale 100 blades slash and the Asura Dragon Slayer technique. The attack clears the path, revealing no enemies. Chu Tian calls out, pointing upwards to a colossal monster head, the progressive decay ghoul which looms over them. The ghoul questions how mere ants dare invade its domain. Nanziing tells it to cut the crap and attacks with the Asura reverse scale demon slash. The ghoul counters with a powerful beam of red energy called progressive decay annihilation. Nanziing is thrown back by the blast, his arm showing signs of decay. He notices his new blade is unaffected, likely due to its free speed property, just as his own regeneration begins to counteract the damage. Spotting that the decay light emanates from the ghoul's head, he tells Chu Tian to teleport him upwards. In the air, Nanziing attacks, then uses his blade's power to freeze time and space, but the ghoul shatters the effect, calling the attempt foolish. Nanziing realizes the freeze is too brief and is unable to block the subsequent blast. Chu Tian teleports to save him, but the ghoul dismisses the little insect and redirects its attack. As the energy beam closes in on Chu Tian, the ghoul screams for him to die. Nan Ziying watches in horror, crying out his name. Chu Tian's teleportation is overwhelmed by the ghoul's divine power of decay. To save him, Nan Ziying erects a great earth shield, but the ghoul calmly states that all things return to stillness under its influence as the shield crumbles. Nan Ziying pushes through the shattering shield to take the full force of the blast himself, yelling for Chu Tian to escape first. When Chu Tian hesitates, Nan Ziying tells him his presence is only a burden. Heartbroken, Chu Tian teleports away. Nan Ziying declares that while other races called his people insects, they have turned to dust while his people remain. He overlaps 2 forbidden spells, creating a massive ice dragon that freezes the entire area, encasing the ghoul's energy core in ice. The ghoul's power begins to melt the ice from within. Nan Ziying retaliates by changing tactics, casting a forbidden spell to create a net of heaven and earth made of light. Reasoning that light itself is immune to decay, he merges with the light, becoming a golden warrior, and overlaps the state with another time-space freeze, clashing directly with the ghoul's power in a blinding explosion. The aftermath reveals the ghoul's true form, not a single entity but a massive swarm of smaller creatures. Nan Ziying casts a bitter cold ice formation, freezing them all into a giant icy sculpture. He uses his storage ring to collect the frozen swarm for future research. Believing his work is done, he prepares to leave and check on Chu Tian, wondering if she's angry about his harsh words. Suddenly, a panicked voice screams that their leader Su Leng is about to die, and Nan Ziying turns in shock. The team stands before a colossal, towering structure that resembles a massive beehive, expressing shock at its sheer scale. A warrior initiates an attack to scout the enemy's strength, unleashing 10,000 puppet strings that slice through the air. However, the attack barely scratches the surface, revealing that the hive's material is far harder than the ones found on Earth. Realizing the difficulty, the commander orders a formation change, sending 1,000 strings to explore the lair. But the counterattack is swift and invisible, forcing the group to retreat defensively. A mage casts a protective barrier, questioning if the enemy is a swarm of bees since nothing is visible, while her teammate deduces the threat is invisible and urges them to bolster their defenses. A massive water cube is conjured to shield the group, but the invisible assailants impact the surface violently, causing splashes that reveal their positions only upon contact. The invisible enemies breach the cube, forcing the team to rely on a perception link and clairvoyant eyes to sense their attackers since sight is useless. Through their shared senses, they finally detect the swarm of monstrous insects and engage in a frantic melee, slashing at the air where the enemies are perceived. Su Leng is struck by a surprise attack, a dark stinger piercing her shoulder, prompting Lan Changkong to unleash a glacial freeze to counter the breach. The ice magic creates a frozen layer that reveals the invisible bees trapped within, exposing their forms and weakness to the cold. Seizing the advantage, the leader orders the team to use the ice layer as a passage to storm the lair and take out the queen, though they worry for Su Leng who has been poisoned. Realizing healing potions are too slow against the spreading venom, Lan Changkong freezes Su Leng's wound to slow the toxin despite the risk of frostbite. While Chu Tian is contacted for emergency extraction, Su Leng insists they press on, refusing to be a burden, and the team advances deeper into the hive, freezing waves of enemies as they go. Elsewhere, Nan Ziying and the young teleporter Chu Tian receive the distress signal, but Chu Tian hesitates, fearing she's just a burden, until Nan Ziying comforts her, affirming that they protect each other. With renewed confidence, Chu Tian teleports them instantly to the battlefield. They arrive to find the team holding their own, and Nan Ziying decides to wait and respect their wish to handle the battle themselves, observing from a distance. Inside the hive, the team launches a coordinated assault on the queen, unleashing ice cones, spider webs, and sweeping attacks to clear the path. They confront the queen bee, a humanoid insectoid sitting arrogantly on the teleportation axis, who mocks them for breaking into her domain. The queen dismisses their ice magic as a trivial trick, easily shattering the frozen attacks, and retaliates with a net of energy strings. Lan Changkong creates a distraction while his teammate aims for the teleportation axis, but the queen is relentless, countering their offensive with bone-piercing ice and heart-scorching flames. The battle escalates as the queen unleashes a scorching needle attack, but the team combines their powers for a decisive strike, using a 1,000-string cut to rip through her defenses. The queen falls, shocked that her clan has been defeated, and is finished off with a final blow that shatters her body. However, just as victory is secured, a strange occurrence unfolds. A poison needle strikes from the shadows, or perhaps an illusion, causing confusion just before the queen explodes in a massive burst of energy. The team celebrates their survival, but the joy is short-lived as a sudden spatial distortion teleports them away, leaving Nan Ziying to catch the collapsing Su Leng. A terrifying new threat emerges immediately after the battle. People begin collapsing for no apparent reason, including Nan Zishan, who reveals with her last strength that a powerful viral plague has spread. Nan Ziying orders Chu Tian to teleport everyone back to the safety of the base while he investigates. Outside the Void Gate, the summoned Rift Reaver senses a powerful presence and is confronted by a mysterious S-rank plague caster. The entity mocks Nan Ziying as a deserter and launches a meteor fire attack, but Nan Ziying, having teleported to the front lines, retaliates with overwhelming force, crushing the S-rank enemy in a single blow. Despite the victory, Nan Ziying suddenly coughs up blood, realizing he has been infected by the virus. The curse seal on his body reacts violently to the pathogen, causing him immense pain as if his body is being torn apart. Inside the body, the virus battles against the curse energy, and strangely the curse seems to purge the virus from his system. Nan Ziying returns to the cabin, where the infection has already incapacitated most of the team, leaving only a few standing. In the laboratory, researchers frantically analyze the virus. Discovering it is a genetic weapon targeting carbon-based life that is resistant to extreme heat and cold. Despair sets in as the researchers themselves succumb to the infection, coughing up blood, but they notice that Nan Ziying's blood sample is destroying the virus. Realizing his blood contains the antibodies needed to create a cure, Nan Ziying unhesitatingly offers his blood for mass production of an antitoxin. While the cure is being synthesized, the defensive line comes under heavy attack from a horde of myriad races, and the weakened defenders are on the brink of collapse. Despite his blood loss, Nan Ziying rushes to the battlefield, summoning his spectral army of green-robed warriors to hold the line. He unleashes a forbidden earth spell, moving mountains and toppling hills to crush the enemy waves, displaying power that terrifies both friend and foe. He commands Rift Reaver to create an abyss of lava, turning the battlefield into a fiery hellscape that consumes the monster horde. Amidst the slaughter, Nan Ziying's consciousness is pulled away into a vision where he confronts the Celestials, a tree-like entity that tries to manipulate him by claiming humanity is rotten and unworthy of saving. Nan Ziying rejects the entity's nihilism, declaring he walks his own path regardless of humanity's flaws and shatters the illusion. Back in reality, the battlefield has been cleared, but a new wave of enemies approaches. However, the cure is ready. Nan Ziying provides a final massive donation of blood to power the regeneration field, which is then fired into the air by cannons, raining down a healing mist over the entire city. The soldiers recover miraculously, cheering for their savior, while Nan Ziying collapses from exhaustion and blood loss. He awakens later to find himself being cared for by a woman who feeds him a blood-nourishing soup, and he learns that his black blood was the key to the cure due to the curse's properties. Fully recovered, Nan Ziying gathers his team, including the recovered Su Lang and others, to face the final 5 gates inside the Void Gate. They choose the Red Gate, teleporting into a realm where they confront the Abyss Gazer, a colossal eye suspended in the clouds. The creature attacks with corrosive liquid and puppet strings, forcing the team to dodge and probe its defenses. Suddenly, in the heat of battle, Nan Ziying is attacked from behind by his own allies. Zhu Xing and others unleash their ultimate moves against him. Nan Ziying is bewildered as Su Changge and Lan Changkong join the assault, trapping him in a barrage of ice and energy attacks, screaming for his death in a shocking betrayal or inexplicable madness. Character screamed to his brother that it was a mental attack controlling Zhu Xing and the others, his own holy light barely enough to protect himself. Nan Ziying, realizing he was the only one unaffected by the mental shock, understood that the enemy wanted them to kill each other. He cast a spell to sever the puppet strings controlling his comrades, realizing he would have to control the power of a forbidden spell to resist them. He unleashed directed sound waves from his sound element spell, aiming to protect himself without hurting his friends. As they lunged at him, he used a spatial teleport to evade, noting that while this lowered their chances of hitting him, it also made them harder to control. He countered their attacks, using a glacial freeze against a forbidden fire spell. His mind-controlled allies coordinated their attacks, with one unleashing 10,000 swords penetration while another erected a forbidden alloy shield. The combined assault proved difficult to handle, and Nan Ziying realized that if the stalemate continued, they would all be drained of their energy. He concluded that someone would have to get hurt to break the deadlock, and asking his brothers for forgiveness, he prepared to unleash Asura's Hell Cleave. Suddenly, a spell to slow time and space was cast, and another controlled teammate prepared to gouge out the enemy's eye with alloy thorns. The enemy fused forbidden spells, injecting molten lava that caused the alloy shield to collapse. Just as Nan Ziying was about to be overwhelmed, with his controlled allies chanting to purge the strange race demon and kill it without mercy, another teammate yelled for them to stop. Nan Zishan initiated a life-burn holy light purification, sacrificing herself as her body began to glow intensely. She told her brother not to worry about her and to use the chance to kill the enemy. Empowered by her sacrifice, she declared she would multiply the forbidden spells, summoning the fire of the sky and its scorching sun. Her power overflowed, with the system noting that energy levels exceeded detectable limits and it was activating a total destruction mode. She combined her spells into a devastating attack called Sun Chaser, culminating in the annihilation of the sun. The massive explosion engulfed the enemy, and as the light faded, Zishan fell from the sky, mortally wounded. Nan Ziying caught her and she told him they had won again and that she was proud of him. He desperately said he would take her to the cozy cabin for healing, but she knew she didn't have much time left. Her final request was for him to summon her undead spirit. With her last breath, she died in his arms. Consumed by grief, Nan Ziying laughed maniacally at the absurdity of being called the strongest on the blue star Earth yet being unable to save his own family. He lashed out at his teammates, calling them useless pieces of shit and blaming them for his sister's death, admitting he was useless too. Su Changge confronted Nan Ziying, demanding to know why he had hesitated to kill them earlier when they were being controlled. As he prepared to defend himself from Nan Ziying's grief-fueled rage, other team members intervened, telling Su Changge not to be like this. One teammate declared his withdrawal from the team, feeling useless, but was quickly reprimanded by another for being so sensitive. They all agreed that they were at fault, but that self-loathing had its limits and they couldn't fall apart. After the confrontation, Nan Ziying honored his sister's last wish and performed the summoning of the dead. Nan Zishan's spirit appeared before them, telling her brother she was proud of him for summoning her. Meanwhile, outside the Void Gate, a separate group of defenders noticed the gate opening but could see no enemies, quickly realizing they were facing an invisible particle energy field. The group initiated a perception link for sense sharing, and there later, activating her Eye of Prophecy, realized one of their own, Rift Reaver, couldn't connect to the link. She immediately warned Rift Reaver that in 3 seconds an attack was coming for him from the 3 o'clock direction. Rift Reaver, acknowledging that his comrades still cared for him despite their different races, intercepted the unseen attack with lava shells. The prophetess then warned of a circular wave attack coming in 2 seconds, prompting Rift Reaver to create a firewall of wind blades with a fierce flame cyclone. The group's defenders spotted a dual attack coming from above and below, but with the shared senses they were able to see it and intercept the particles with an alloy vine net. The defender deployed an ironwood earth shield and energy-absorbing moss, but the team knew they wouldn't last long just defending and needed to find the enemy's main body and attack pattern. Suddenly, the prophetess saw something inside their defenses and yelled for Su Leng and Chen Care to watch out. An explosion erupted, catching 2 defenders inside. As Rift Reaver strained to hold it back, the prophetess recalled seeing a tiny 3mm light core flash and disappear right before the explosion, guessing it was the main body. She theorized that it appears for 1 second when it reassembles its energy at a random location. She announced their only chance was to temporarily cut the perception sharing and focus everything on finding its next location. One defender promised to protect the other, who then activated full prophecy for 10 seconds. She successfully located the light core, announcing it would assemble in 5 seconds at the 8 o'clock direction, 15 meters away. She ordered Qin Ying and Qin Sui to grab it the moment the explosion stopped. The Qin siblings sprang into action, with the brother vowing to protect his sister as she grabbed it. She cast a 10,000-layer alloy vine net, which successfully wrapped around the glowing pink core, shrinking and binding it tightly. They cheered, believing they had done it. The prophetess warned them not to let their guard down, as she could feel a massive annihilation energy building within the binding that would explode in 10 seconds, its effect extending for thousands of miles towards the 5th defense line. She ordered the Qin siblings to send the core to the lava layer in the Earth's core, while Rift Reaver blocked the Great Annihilation. Rift Reaver unleashed the power of lava, using a volcanic shock to release the binding and contain the imminent explosion within a sphere of molten rock. In a final, desperate move, he offered his star core as a sacrifice in the name of the Scorpio Tower for eternal freezing. He unleashed Absolute Zero, completely freezing the Annihilation Blast. The team celebrated their victory, but they saw that Rift Reaver's body was cracking apart from the strain of using his ultimate move. Just as Rift Reaver began to shatter, a portal opened and Nan Ziying's team arrived. Zishan, in her spirit form, immediately began applying holy light healing to Rift Reaver, whose body had stopped cracking. However, she explained that because his body structure was completely different from a human's, she could only temporarily slow the collapse. She couldn't heal him. Once her energy ran out, he would disintegrate again. Nan Ziying suggested the source of the collapse was the star core in his chest and told Zishan to focus her power there. The team leaped into action, with Nan Ziying using puppet strings to repair him from the inside, the Qin siblings using alloy vines to reshape his destroyed armor, and another freezing the cracks to slow the energy leakage. Chu Tian was dispatched to teleport Chen Lianyi and Su Zionan to their location with their equipment. Rift Reaver, overwhelmed, told them what they were doing was futile as his star core's energy was depleted, but he was told to shut up and that they wouldn't know until they tried. Zishan revealed she was temporarily supplying him with her own soul energy to slow the dissipation. As Nan Ziying set up an amplification formation to boost Zishan's energy transfer, one of the specialists proposed a bold idea: to merge the Annihilation Light Core they had captured with Rift Reaver's Star Core to provide a new energy supply. Agreeing it was their only shot, Nan Ziying teleported away to retrieve the Light Core from its frozen prison underground. Chen Lianyi and Su Zionan began analyzing a sample from Rift Reaver's Star Core, identifying its composition. Nan Ziying returned with the Annihilation Light Core, and an analysis confirmed it was pure Annihilation Decay energy. The specialists concluded that a merger was possible but would clash, carrying a great risk of Rift Reaver's own energy being devoured, possibly causing him to mutate or be crippled. Rift Reaver accepted the risk, telling them to kill him without hesitation if he mutated. With the decision made, they prepared for the surgery. The specialists instructed Nan Ziying to push the Annihilation Light Core into the Star Core as he melted the ice, while they simultaneously injected a material fusion catalyst that could only maintain balance for 10 seconds. With everything in place, they began the procedure, and Rift Reaver let out an agonized scream as volatile energy surged through his body.